Welcome, one and all to yet another episode of Wick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. Gang, we've got a show for you today. We are going to be talking about right-wing cancel culture. Is that a real thing? After the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, I should say, of Charlie Kirk, some people went to Twitter to make jokes, and some even celebrated. Um, a docs list was formed to call these people's places of residence, not places of residence, places of employment, and get them fired. Many celebrated getting people fired from their positions. Is this a form of cancel culture? Should people be fired for making jokes about Charlie Kirk? We got a great guest list here to talk about it. We're going to start off with Soy Pill, and we're just going to make our way around the room. Soy Pill, give us your thoughts, tell us who you are, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm the Soy Pill. I do video essays about politics. In terms of people getting fired for celebrating the death or whatever, I'm very consistent on this. In the same way, I argue that fascists should be fired or have the right to be fired. You can be fired for a lot of things, and if your boss doesn't want to associate with you because you are, I don't know, making a joke about a dead guy or saying really anything. They can fire you, like I always say, for having the wrong color shirt. That's fine. What's much more concerning is someone like Jimmy Kimmel getting taken off the air because of government pressure from the FCC. This is an attack on free speech, and now Trump is in Air Force One saying things like, I will take away their licenses, or they shouldn't have their licenses because 97% of the coverage against me is negative, or they're talking about me. So yeah, while I think that, getting fired is part of cancel culture and the same thing the right has been complaining about, it's just coming back to haunt us. But in terms of actual crackdown on free speech, that is a very big issue that's happening right now from the government, and I'm very worried about it and trying to spread the word. So,
Okay, thank you for being here. We'll get into it as we go. Quibbles over coffee. Go ahead.
I believe 80% of what he just said. In terms of specifically Kimmel, I think it's a little crazy because I think there's a massive difference between Kimmel specifically in the context of ABC and something like CNN or Fox or Spotify. There's a long history of both left and right trying to make attacks on free speech. Certainly, Elizabeth Warren has been guilty of it in the recent past. And I think that it's very different to do that when we're talking about a private company versus when we're talking about public airwaves. And particularly when we're talking about public airwaves, when there's only 3 of that particular kind in comparison to public airwaves of like radio kind, where there's thousands. But broadly, other than that, I agree.
Okay, I guess we'll get into it as we go. Next up, we have Confluence. Go ahead.
Okay. I would say no one is truly against cancel culture and censorship in any all encompassing, no exceptions kind of way. This is similar to acknowledging that no reasonable person is a true free speech absolutist. Obviously, a proper functioning country needs to have some limits on speech, things like blackmail, insider trading threats, incitement to violence, etc. In the same way, no one is fully against censorship. While most pornography is legal, lascivious content involving minors is not, and perhaps only the most extreme ANCAP weirdos, hashtag not all ANCAPs, would want to remove those laws. Cancel culture is the same way. If in 1963, after the JFK assassination, some prominent employee openly celebrated his death, they would have been fired. Consequences on their own should not be considered cancel culture. Cancel culture is canceling people for heterodoxical political opinions, pitchy jokes, mild infractions, etc. I think the celebration of Kirk's death falls so far out of the Overton window and is so dangerous in causing stochastic terrorism as to merit cancellation. If we take an extremely myopic definition of cancel culture, then sure, it's cancel culture. But I argue there's a line, and that line has been blown over.
Going to have a good improv off the top statement.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. Next up, we have Aircraft Sparky. Go ahead.
Hey everyone, formerly Aircraft Sparky, now just Jason, because I'm just some guy. When it comes to the celebration of the death of Charlie Kirk, celebration of anyone is nothing but normalizing political violence. I'm not a fan of that. That is way over the line. That is far beyond acceptable. Anything that is considered unacceptable by society should be censored in some way or another. We saw this when Roseanne Barr referred to Valerie Jarrett, or did I say her name right? When she referred to an Obama official as a monkey. Okay, she was taken off the air, and she should have been. Okay, what she said was deplorable and unacceptable.
Guys, I'll say this once. I'll say it again.
When you look at
the person she said looked like the Planet of the Apes,
when he was kicked
she
off
looked
of
like
CNN
the lady from Planet of the Apes
for basically saying
it's
Nikki
nothing
Haley
to do with the
was
race.
beyond
Like
her prime. I think that was actually a step too
I swear to
far.
God. But she also
but
was
when it
super
comes
racist,
to
so.
things like Jimmy Kimmel, I just refer to the FCC open airways policy. He kind of sat there and inferred that it was a MAGA person that did the killing. If he wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have cared. If you want to mock the death of Charlie Kirk, sure. But if you want to celebrate it, you want to try to normalize that kind of action. That's really a hard, fast line, and I don't think anyone should support that.
Okay, thank you for being here, and we'll get into it as we go. Last but certainly not least, Logics, please.
What's up, y'all? Illogics. Appreciate you for having me again, Wick. Do a social commentary debunking, politics on my channel. So I basically, generally, I agree with a little bit of what everybody said. I think the cancel culture is something we've kind of just accepted, but it did stick with culture. And until it became government officials stepping in and the FCC and the president having his hand in on telling people what he wants to see and doesn't want to see on television, I think that's more of an issue that we need to address. If people end up getting fired because they display deplorable behavior and a job doesn't want to deal with them, then by no means, can I do anything about that? That's on them. But yeah, like I said, when we get the president telling us what he wants to see and what he doesn't want to see, yeah, I'm going to argue with you. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you for being here. Before I open it up to the floor, I'm kind of shocked that everyone here is okay with mobs of people calling up employers, right? And getting them fired. Is that, did I hear everyone's opening statement right?
Well,
That you're okay with that?
no, I think it's just a result of something happened. I would never advocate for it.
I think it depends on what your job is, right? Like if your job is to be a plumber, I don't think that your opinions on the 2024 election are particularly relevant. But if your job is speech, then I think you should be able to be fired for speech for the same reason I think a plumber should be able to be fired because they're bad at plumbing, right?
I
Whose
think
job
if you're
is
a
speech?
nurse,
What do you mean?
I think if you're a nurse, I think if you're a teacher, I mean, there's all kinds of things that no, I'm sorry. If someone who actually hates me for what I stand for, I don't want them anywhere near my
Okay,
health,
let's
my
stick with
food, my
specifically.
children, things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's
So a nurse, a teacher is an example of something where you as a person is somewhat relevant to your job, right? So like I care that you are a good person when you are teaching my kids at some level, presumably, and I certainly care about your morals. I don't care really about the moral, other than like I want to make sure that the drywall is done correctly. I don't really give a shit about who you are as a person if you're doing my drywall, right? So do you think there's a moral reason ever to fire someone who's responsible for drywall because they said something shitty on Twitter?
if you don't like it and you're paying for them, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how do we all?
Yeah, I'm not quite asking.
How do we
whether or
feel
not
about
it should be legally permitted? I'm asking whether or not you think it's like appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. If you do not agree, if someone says something that wildly offends you or anything like that, and you are paying them, you have no obligation to continue to pay them.
Okay, but what about when it comes down to like public pressure? Like even though I'm on this side of the argument, I was opposed to libs of TikTok. Do you remember when Thomas Crooks shot Trump in the ear? Libs of TikTok famously signal boosted a Home Depot worker who said like a mild thing like, "Oh, I wish you didn't miss." And then people went to the Home Depot and they filmed the minimum wage worker and they got her fired. And it's like, that's pressure from people. Home Depot wouldn't have fired her. That's because people are going out of their way to do it. That's a minimum wage employee who said something that was
I wish they
distasteful,
didn't.
but it's so minor.
I wish they didn't miss. That's normalizing political violence.
It is, but to me,
if she said,
question whether that's a
Guys,
shitty
is
no,
the audio
thing.
cut off?
so
I can
it
see the audio
depends on
lighting up. I
degrees,
cannot
right?
hear them
So
right now. I don't know why.
if
I'm very
Logic's like me and
I have
him,
like RAM
we're
issues.
opposed
Someone
ideologically.
buy me new.
If he sits there and he
download
says,
new
"I
RAM.
think Trump is an idiot," cool story, bro. I'm not mad at him. Look, an opinion is one thing, but when you are trying to normalize something that is so egregious, okay, that's where the line is drawn. So the idea that MAGA and I'm a Trump supporter, okay, the idea that MAGA wants people fired for a joke, no, it most people are using their common sense on this. It is that line. What is that line for you? I can't tell you, but I know what it is for me. And when you're trying to normalize, if you're trying to glorify political violence, or even if you're gaslighting other people, like I really have some problems with calling ICE the Gestapo and things like that. I think there is, you're really towing a line there.
Should
You're
someone be
kind of
fired for that?
advocating.
if I
Yes.
was if yeah, so
Absolutely.
if I was
I
in
think
a
Gavin
if I was a
Newsom should
teacher,
actually be up for impeachment right now for
Yeah,
his
because
statements.
Newsom is totally different than what we're talking about at the Home Depot. Newsom is a publicly elected
well, hold on,
figure,
just real quick,
and obviously he's responsible for his speech.
Quibbles, please. Who here agrees with Aircraft Sparky that Newsom should be impeached for calling ICE the Gestapo?
No.
No.
Okay, so
I think Newsom should be
standing alone.
impeached
I'm
for
just
a lot of
curious. I
reasons.
was really,
Maybe they
really
should stop
interested.
acting like the
I
Gestapo.
dislike
He
Newsom,
wouldn't
but
call
that's
him that.
definitely
I
not.
mean,
that's not
Jason, it's
impeachable.
like where you say there's a line, but there's clearly no fine line. Even like when you said it's inciting political violence, if somebody said they wish he didn't miss, is political violence the only violence that matters? What if somebody like, oh, I got hit by, somebody hit my car today, I wish I could fucking kill him, and you tell your manager that, well, should you die for that? Or if you get on Instagram and vent in your I would kill him for hitting my car, like,
Look,
should they now lose their job because they're so angry that they're going to kill somebody that hit them?
So we put our face out there on the internet.
Guys,
okay?
I'm gonna mute
we're actually
inside,
doing something that a lot of
OBS.
people
Tell me
don't.
if the popping goes
If
away.
people are going to put
3,
themselves out
2,
there, if they're going to
1.
make themselves a public figure, they're responsible for the speech they make.
Yeah, but this
Now,
was like
if-
a 40-year-old woman posting on like her
Okay, is it back?
Facebook page.
Depot.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a random
Get
like
fucked,
I-
boomer. Who
Like,
cares?
I just can't help
What
but
do you
feel,
mean, who
even though I think all these Charlie Kirk celebrators should absolutely be fired. I fully believe that. For me,
Well-
when it comes to the Home Depot, I'm just like, it's a throwaway comment.
cool.
She probably
All right.
didn't
Put
Well,
it
as
on
always,
their
audio
Home
problems are
Facebook.
Depot.
It's
Jason,
no,
I'm sorry.
that's
Hold
wrong.
On, hold on. Someone puts something on Facebook and it goes viral. Do you think that's different than I choose to show up on like Piers Morgan, and because I'm on Piers Morgan, someone says, "Hey, that was a really shitty thing to say," which you knew full well was going to be seen by millions of people? Surely that's different, right?
So I don't think it's equivalent, but all the same, if you're going to put an opinion out there that is going to push that line, absolutely, I don't care.
Wait, but Jason, I'm
It
not
doesn't
asking
matter
about
what your
the opinion
reach
being
is, my man.
That lady probably didn't even know
Yeah, I'm
her
not asking
Facebook
about-
was public.
wait.
Okay, she probably didn't even
Of course
know.
it matters.
That's the
Of course it
staticky is a
matters
thing
what
that
the
I've
reach
dealt with
is,
before. It just
obviously,
happens with him.
right?
Like, I
Like,
can try unplugging it and
surely
plugging
you
it
see
back
a
in. It might fuck the
difference
whole
in-
stream up.
No, I don't.
Right, but surely you see a difference in terms of intent when I
not you.
say like, fuck blah blah blah, and I'm talking to the 12 people who follow me on Twitter versus if I were having 400,000 followers on Twitter, right? Those are different things.
They're
No,
going to be different, but
it's irrelevant.
but-
If your boss
yeah.
wants to fire you for anything, they can do it. I think it's
Based.
interesting that you, Jason, have a very specific line. I mean, it's like, oh, once it crosses here, now it's okay to go after them. I
Yes.
first of all, morally, I don't think you should be forming hate mobs against people for any amount of reason. I've seen people getting thrown into that like crazy doxing website for stupid shit. But legally, your boss, I think, should be able to fire you for just about anything that's not a civilly protected right. And the idea that it's like, well, you know, they're only talking to 12 people, it doesn't matter. Understanding the content of someone's character can reflect on how they're going to do that job. Like, you know, if we want to be real, Bill Clinton or Donald Trump being a rapist has no real impact on how they're going to do executive, duties, but it informs their character and then their decision making. And so, yeah, maybe your drywall guy saying, "Oh, I'm so happy Charlie Kirk died," is not going to affect how he does the drywall, but it might affect his decision making. It might affect your trust for that person in the same way people might, fire someone when they find out they're racist. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not going to affect this, but you might, especially when it comes to food, like Jason said, I don't trust that person anymore. It doesn't matter. Your boss should be free to not associate with that.
And
part of it is
one thing,
reasonable.
one
I
thing
think
that
part
I'm
of it is
amazed that we
also
haven't
One at
touched
a
on.
time, please, Jason, and then
Okay, just one thing that I'm amazed we haven't touched on, and this is because myself and Wick, we're both veterans. And Wick, you've probably seen some of this. There has been direct action to get service members removed for celebration of this assassination and things like that. I fully support that. I don't want people defending my country who wants to normalize and justify political violence. I don't care
just
what
real
side
quick.
they're on.
Yeah,
but-
Jason,
It's
Jason.
completely different.
The problem is that the examples I've seen of them celebrating the assassination have been things like there was a lieutenant colonel, for example.
Mhm.
He made 4 quotes of what Charlie Kirk said. That's it. That's all he did.
Mhm.
And then you have people trying to get him
and
DMJ. for that.
and just that I don't agree with.
But that's
ones that are-
that's the majority of things I've seen.
But there was a bird colonel who literally said he got what he deserved type thing. I don't remember the quote, but he actually was like, yes, this was a good thing, and it's just like, I'm sorry, you can't command troops anymore. You're
But
done.
also, Jason, just to add to that, I mean, I'm not even really in agreement on you on this topic, but in the defense of what that guy posted, Wick, or like the reason he got fired, people are like, oh, he just posted quotes. And yeah, Charlie Kirk was a shitty person who said a lot of shitty things, but obviously the implication is if you're going to post the things that you think are shitty post his death, you're saying, oh, yeah, well, this is what he said, therefore I don't care. That's the implication there. I don't think he should be fired for that. I think he should be allowed to, though, and I understand. And the idea that it's like, well, I'm just quoting him, I think is a very weaselly defense. Like, the idea is, you know, if I took right after MLK's death, found the worst thing he said and put it up on screen, it's like, oh, you're trying to justify it. Whether or not it's good to do that is a different story. But like, that's not what he was doing. Just oh, I'm just quoting him.
They weren't just doing it. If the only thing that had happened was Charlie Kirk had gotten killed, then you might have a point. But that wasn't the only thing going on. A lot of people were making him into a saint, right? They were making him to say, oh, he was just like Martin Luther King, such a good boy. So in that context, you can see how someone might be putting these quotes out, not to celebrate the death, not to condone the violence, but to simply say, he wasn't a saint.
He was no angel. Yeah, no.
Well,
and sure,
well,
and that's
there's people
also
that
something that someone could get fired over. I'm just saying, like, the idea of saying he was no angel, it's, you know, on the scale of celebrations that I've seen, is not up there. People being like, oh, thank God he's dead, he was a horrible stain on this country, you know, or people just being like, cool, the fascists got blasted or whatever. Like, yeah, all of these things are things that I've seen. It's a wide spectrum. But the idea that, like, oh, you shouldn't be fired for this, this is free speech, I think is silly. Now, I morally might disagree with these hate mobs in the same way back in, like, you know, 2018, people fired James Gunn because he had a pedophile joke in, like, Twitter in 2008. It's silly, it's stupid, and people going after them are stupid. But ultimately, it's the employer's discretion, and if they feel that this is not something they want to be associated with, like, there's nothing really we should change about that at all.
You're saying sort of two things here. One of the things you're saying is a legal argument, which I assume we're all in agreement with, that obviously people should be legally permitted to fire people for their speech, obviously, even in the case of the drywall person, obviously. But I think that the legal case is a different question than the moral case. And I don't think I'm quite hearing yet whether you think on a moral level it's the same to go after someone who's a public speaker for speech versus someone who's, you know, from the Home Depot.
I think these things are obviously, there's a difference. It's like, hey, you know, your audience, maybe you knew this was going to be amplified, versus like, I tweeted to my, you know, inner circle and someone doxed me and blew it up. Obviously, like, that matters, but ultimately the employer is going to make that discretion, just like Jason was saying, which is, hey, like, I don't like that you did this. I don't want to be around you anymore. So it's not just but it's not just the legal. I'm just saying morally, it makes sense to me if someone's like sees the worst thing you've ever said on the internet and says, I don't know if I like want to work with you anymore, or want to be part of your, you know, circle, or want to pay you anymore. All of these things are completely valid reasons morally, in my opinion.
Right, but
now,
I
don't not agree with every single one. But
I'm asking, like, is your line different? Like, does the thing that the person at Home Depot does have to be a more intense, like, moral failing?
No, it could be completely unrelated, like racism, right? Like, you don't have like if you don't even interact with other people at your job, you're a coder who works from home, and I find out you're like an abhorrent racist, and I want to fire you because I don't like that and I don't like your judgment. It doesn't matter that you don't interact with you know, non-white people anywhere. It's just, look, I don't want you at my job. I don't like your discretion, period. Like, I think that's pretty morally justifiable.
Right, but I'm asking, like, if you were an employer, and you let's say you own the Daily Wire. Obviously, you have to change your politics first. But
wouldn't be failing if I owned it.
That's such a good point. Okay, so you own the Daily Wire. Do you feel that the same level of, like, you know, shitty thing that is said on Facebook for Matt Walsh and for the guy who's behind the camera? Or do you think that Matt Walsh can say a less shitty thing and still get fired than the guy who works the camera?
I would obviously assume that the discretion for someone who didn't think they were going to be amplified in front of millions of people should be higher as an employer. But it's funny because it's the opposite. These people who are the pundits, who are the president, are saying the most shitty things and are not getting any consequences for it. So as much as I would say, yeah, okay, maybe you said a joke to your friend in private you didn't know was going to get amplified, and maybe I'll give you a little more leeway if I was the employer, it seems like the standard is completely flipped, where we have Matt Walsh and pundits saying the most unhinged, crazy, amplifying, raise the temperature shit and getting absolutely no pushback for it. So I don't know.
Yeah, like Jason. So how do you feel about like Trump saying like I hate all my enemies? And I mean, I think it's safe to say he's talking about people, the left-wing radicals that's half the country to him.
Thank you,
So
Logic.
I'm probably
We're swinging
he
it back.
should get
We're making this a
impeached.
Trump referendum.
So I'm probably like one of the few conservatives that didn't actually watch the entire thing. I went and watched the segment because I saw people talking about it. It was a self-deprecating joke. I got it. I thought it was inappropriate for the setting, but that's Trump. Do I excuse it? No. I'm not sitting there going, "Oh, it was great by any means." No.
Didn't you
I'm
just say?
just
Well, you
that's
said it
just
was a
saying,
joke.
Isn't that an excuse?
it was a self-deprecating joke, just like I
But then
would.
you said that's Trump.
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
Trump.
That's an excuse,
an
to be
excuse.
fair.
But I feel
When I
like that's
voted for
always the
Trump, I
catch-all. It's
knew-
like, well, you know,
well-
Trump is gonna Trump. Like everybody's
Look.
saying that as if like, well, fuck it. You know?
Okay. So here's the olive branch. There are things Trump that can say that I would go, no, I absolutely condemn. Okay, when Pam Bondi came out and was talking about the hate speech bullshit, I immediately was like, oh, hell to the no. Okay, I think that shit's stupid. But that, in context, it was a self-deprecating joke. He was he was basically saying Erica is better than me. This is why she's better than me. I'm not like that because I'm this. It is literally him playing a crowd.
Do you think it's
it was
massively
appropriate? No.
irresponsible for the president to amplify tensions between warring parties, like, you know, that are already like at each other's throats because of this? Like, at the very
think it
least, think
was.
like,
I think
wow,
it
this person
raised
should
the
not have the
temperature.
mandate of the country and shouldn't be allowed to make decisions for the country.
So actually, no. I mean, tried bankrupting him, tried putting him in jail. People have tried to put him in the freaking ground. You know what? He's got a little bit more grace because of that.
Besides trying to put him in the ground, is it not the option that maybe he actually committed crimes?
He hasn't been convicted of any crimes,
Well,
really.
he would have
No,
been, but
Well, yeah.
Neither
Oh, he was.
No, he was.
So we
No,
do,
he was.
He
but
kinda
the
was,
moral,
yeah.
the moral value of this country says until they're actually convicted. And look,
he was.
He was convicted.
He is a felon, right? That is. I'm not crazy,
actually,
right?
that's under.
You mean jailed?
So
He wasn't jailed.
Well, so it's still being adjudicated because there's a whole appeals thing. He was
Right, but
initially convicted.
currently,
He was
yeah.
initially convicted under a
was
novel legal
convicted.
theory that they had to actually create new legislation just to charge him. So I'm not going to apologize for that. But he was convicted under some slander laws. But you
What
know,
about that? What about the inflating the real estate in New York? I thought he lost that case.
All right, this is getting off topic.
Yeah.
We're
well,
getting off topic. I
yeah.
guess it
I'm
doesn't
happy
really-
to
We
shit
don't
on
we don't
his
need Jason to
real estate
defend every
matters,
Trump thing. We can make him just defend the free speech stuff. That's
Yeah.
what the
Yeah,
topic
I
is.
mean, like for real though, once you take a shot at a freaking at a politician,
they're
that gives
allowed
them
to
a
do
lot of
anything.
leeway.
They're allowed to, like, make
After
shit
they
worse.
shot Reagan, you should have heard some of the stuff that was coming out of that man's mouth. It is what it is. When you take a shot
How
at
many
someone,
slurs did they get?
Reagan didn't slur. I mean,
Well,
he
it
was
Actually,
depends-
he was a
You should
little
listen
bit
to
more.
the leaked audio where he
Well,
calls African people
It
monkeys.
depends what he means, what Trump means by enemies too, right? Like there's a steel man there that he means the radical left, the Antifa, not all Democrats, not anyone. Like maybe I will admit maybe he does mean literally everyone who's not on his side. That's possible, but I think he could mean like the people that are destroying the country, the nihilist people who are celebrating violence. And if that's what he means, then that's kind of based. I mean, I
Well,
don't know.
and I'll give him grace and actually go with that interpretation. I don't think that
No,
he is
you guys
looking at
can't-
the
you can't-
run of the
You
mill
can't give him that
Democrats.
grace because Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, you didn't give that grace when they specifically named a
How do you
very
know that?
small portion. I'm talking about Trump in general. Maybe you specifically did. But when they say there's a basket of deplorables and they don't mean all the right, but I mean this thing, or when Joe Biden said the MAGA extremists, but when Donald Trump has Stephen Miller in his cabinet saying the entire Democratic Party is the party of violence and radicalism and terrorism, you can't go off and say, well, you know what? I'm going to give him the grace and say, I think he just meant the bad ones, which is absolutely not at all
Well,
what he meant. He's
so-
supposed to
so
be
I'll
unifying the
tell
country
you-
like all the other former presidents, and he's not doing
So
it.
I'll tell you when it comes.
Wait, like so Hillary Clinton, the quote you just said, the basket of deplorables, and then the mega extremists, that was unifying the country?
Yeah,
Just to be
because at
clear.
the very least, you have to understand that they were calling out a very specific, insane subset who tried to overthrow the Democratic election versus Donald Trump talking about the entire Democratic Party.
Wait, the
okay,
basket
well,
of deplorable comment was
yeah, before any of that ever
before
happened.
any of
or-
that.
Yeah, she had the
Yeah,
foresight
that
to
was
understand
like
how fucking
2016.
insane
Oh,
MAGA
so
was
she's
going to
like a
be and talk
prophet.
about that
She's
part
like
of the
a
country.
Hillary
Yeah.
Nostradamus. Okay.
It's not
So
Nostradamus.
when
It's
it comes
just Donald Trump telegraphed all of it. But speaking of which, if we want to get back to the topic at hand, Brendan Carr wrote out specifically about using the FCC to do legislative coercion of regulation in Project 2025. So everyone's saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they predicted this," or "You're Nostradamus." It's like, no, they told us they were going to do this, and now they're trying to
they
restrict free
actually did.
speech. So
Well,
So-
yeah,
so-
he did argue with an FCC violation. So,
But the FCC has been doing this for over 50 years. If you've worked
they've-
for a radio station, if you've worked
Doing
with
what?
broadcast
Doing what specifically?
networks, yeah, they actually selectively enforce rules on different entities depending, because once you go over the airways, if you become a ham operator, you have the same kind of responsibilities as ABC, NBC, CBS, or any radio station that operates over the free airways. Okay, this is just the FCC doing FCC shit.
So can you
also
point to me an
flag
example of
that
the
there's
past of the? Go ahead. It's someone who's not me.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and
Quibbles
Soy
or
was getting at the
Logic,
same
Soy
thing.
Pill, then Quibbles. Go.
Sorry. You said me?
Logic,
Yeah, go.
Soy Pills, Quibbles.
Yeah, I think we was getting at the same thing. Basically, I want to know what in particular you're talking about. You're saying the FCC is doing FCC. What are you referring to? That's
okay.
been
I
going
can quote
on?
the exact status that he violated.
Who?
Yeah, it's distortion
Jimmy
of
Kimmel
news.
violated?
It's distortion of
that
news is
Kimmel.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, if you lie in the face of a tragedy and you know it's false and it can cause harm, that's an FCC violation. And it's arguable. I mean, the FCC hasn't investigated yet, right? Brendan Carr just said that, he would be looking into it. But I would say that Kimmel did lie knowingly. He knew the shooter was on the left. Everybody who's honest is admitting that.
And there's actually-
that's a dangerous thing to imply that it was a mega Republican that did it.
Well, first of all,
If-
to be
if we're
clear,
gonna-
he didn't say the guy was MAGA. He said MAGA is doing everything in their power to paint this as anyone but their own,
I
which
said
you
that's
could
why I said
he
you could
implied.
reasonably
That's a
understand as
clear
he was saying they were
implication.
MAGA. No, you could reasonably
not a
you
lie.
could make that reasonable, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. Second of all, you have to ignore everything that we just talked about, where Brendan Carr said we are going to use the FCC to crack down legislatively on institutions that may be weaponized by the Democrats. That Donald
Hasn't the
Trump,
left
that
done the
Donald
exact same
Trump
thing?
months ago said after getting Stephen Colbert pulled off the air because the CBS needed a FCC license to finish their deal and their merger, got him out as an appeasement to Trump and gave him that bullshit lawsuit. 2 months after that said, and you know what? Jimmy Kimmel is next. And then look at this and say, look at the Rolling Stone reporting. And so that the executives said, I don't think that he crossed the line, and yet we feel pressure from the Trump administration, so we're going to take him off anyway. And say all of that is, well, he just did a little FCC violation. That totally makes sense. And not, hey, the government has explicitly told us they're
So
going
why-
to use
so
the
Soy
FCC
Pill, why is he
to
back?
get rid of
What
things
happened with-
that
why
they
is
don't
he
like.
back?
What has been happening on the left for the last 10 years about Facebook, about
Not that.
Spotify, about trying to cancel
About
Listen,
YouTube,
Facebook and
that's what we're down
Spotify.
now?
talking
Wait.
about YouTube.
You're
when does the-
equivocating
all of
things
that
that aren't
shit has been
related.
happening.
But
No,
wait, you're
they're
equivocating
absolutely
things
related.
that aren't related.
No,
No,
I'm
you're
saying they're
absolutely
exactly
no.
related.
No, they're
Dude,
not. Okay,
I'm
because
agreeing with you.
broadcast.
Jason, I'm agreeing with you.
I know
Jason,
you
I'm
agree
agreeing
with me,
you. You're not
but
even
please
hearing what
be
I'm saying.
accurate when you do it. When you go over the
Yeah,
when you
go
go
for it.
over the free airways, that is going to be
I
different.
know, that's what I'm saying.
than cable
That's what I'm saying.
and
I agree.
internet.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely
So-
right. It is considerably worse when it's being done in the case of Spotify, which Elizabeth Warren, among others, has been massively trying to pressure both Spotify and Facebook. In the case of the Biden administration during COVID, there was a boatload of censorship.
So
of
Quibbles,
certain
Trump
policies.
two
was
things.
president
Because you
during that.
mentioned the
All of
COVID
this
thing.
was
I have to
pressure.
push back on this. First of all, this
Yeah.
both happened under
All of
both
this was
administrations,
pressure.
both Trump and
Hold
Biden.
on.
Second of
Sure,
all, they were
sure,
cracking
and
down
all
on
of it was
COVID
pressure.
misinformation before there was any request from the Biden administration to take anything down. So this is just not borne out at
And
all.
yet there
And
was
third of
still
all, when this
requests.
went to
Do you
court,
grant that those were
they
requests
all
that
got
happened?
released and did not finish these cases because they had to prove that there was substantial pressure or damage caused on them, which they could not. In fact, you look at the way that this was done, and Biden was
there
you could
been-
say that this is pressure
Yeah.
for sure, but Biden was releasing things like, hey, we're pointing you to things that we believe is spreading misinformation and may be
Do you
harmful,
think it
not
is reasonable
you need
say
to
that
take
the
this down.
statements? Do you think it is reasonable to say that the statements that have been made very public by people like Elizabeth Warren against private companies are of the same form, but obviously massively different because they are not in the context of public waves as ABC is?
When you say of the same form, I would have to see these quotes specifically. So I'm
Yeah, I
willing
don't
to
know what
say
she
yes,
said.
potentially. I have to read these, but it's very
Sure,
different
yeah.
for, hey, did Elizabeth Warren write out on the plan before the election how they're going to use the FCC to crack down on speech they don't like? And then her president, let's say Joe Biden, in public announced to everyone, I think these people shouldn't have licenses to broadcast their opinions because they cover me very negatively, which is the most insane crackdown on free speech I think we've seen in a
Elizabeth
very
Warren is
long
talking-
time. If she did something like that, I might agree.
You acknowledge that a public broadcasting license holds more responsibility, is different than a private company. Like you are beholden to higher standards.
Yes,
okay.
and if the standards that we're going to revoke those are they're too negative about me, the president, regardless of whether or not I deserve that negativity, is fucking insane.
That's not what Brendan Carr said.
Okay, well that's what the
Kimmel
president is saying. So maybe you should worry about that a little more.
Wait, Kimmel's on one of the 3 networks that are of that form, right?
Yes.
In the entire country, there are only 3.
Yeah.
Do we all grant that he is obviously of the left? Do we all grant that there is obviously no comparable person who is of the right on any of those 3 networks?
What are the other? What's the third?
It's CBS,
CBS,
NBC, and
NBC.
ABC.
Yeah.
And NBC. Okay. No, I would say there's not someone as big on the right there. No.
Okay, so do we grant that is an obvious slanting that is governmentally paid for benefiting the left?
Sure.
No, because it's not an election season though.
It benefits the left. If they want to describe, if they want to say negative things about the president, sure. But
I mean,
the idea that
okay, when you say benefit, I thought you meant
hold on.
Don't grant that this is.
This is not Fox. This is not CNN.
I thought
Fox
you
and
meant
CNN
electoral,
are
not
private
just
companies.
ABC, NBC,
They can do whatever the fuck they want.
CBS. Hold on, don't NBC, ABC, and CBS actually pay the government for their licenses?
Yes,
like,
they
they're
do.
not getting paid by the government.
They pay the government for the broadcast.
They also
But they pay the
settle
government
lawsuits that are totally
substantially below
frivolous
market
just to make
rate
sure they
and
get the
have had-
license. Just to be clear,
I'm answering Wick's. I'm going to have to answer Wick's question. Yes, they do pay the government, but they pay the government substantially.
it's fine to
below
agree to
market
that.
rate,
Obviously,
and
these things are going to have a left-wing bias because it's reality.
paying
So
for the last 60, 70 years. I believe since 1969, something like that. It's been a really long time, and they have
but they're not getting
changed.
paid by the government.
Yeah.
No, they're essentially being subsidized through those.
But they're essentially being subsidized by the government.
Yeah, it's a
because they should be
subsidization.
spending, like, if it was actually paid at market rate, they'd be paying many billions of dollars more than they're actually paying, and therefore they're getting, in essence, a subsidy of those billions of by the government.
And do you think
those
the government should take it away if they're too critical of them?
I'm sorry.
Should the government rightfully take that away if they're too critical of the government?
So it's actually not about being critical.
Yeah, I think those 3.
Well, okay, wait. Before you say whatever you're about to say, Jason, the fucking president said it was.
Yes,
so,
I
but go ahead.
I don't care what the president says because he doesn't run the FCC.
You don't care what the president says?
He is the president. He does not run the FCC.
Yeah,
the FCC,
Brendan Carr reports to him. He fucking takes. Oh my God, Brendan Carr
reported
explicitly
the
wrote out,
Biden
"I'm going
was
to use
president
Trump
too."
as
Okay,
president to do this as head of the FCC." What are you talking about?
Obviously, what the president says is relevant, of course, but obviously
Thank you
too,
for
it is
granting that.
relevant and important that these are only 3 organizations, and those 3 organizations are clearly of the left and are clearly getting billions of dollars in subsidies, which is obviously massively unfair and obviously massively different than if we're talking about MSNBC or Newsmax.
Could you elaborate on unfair? What do you mean unfair? Like, for example,
is
if the
unfair
president
that
does, wait, hold on.
one-sidedly-
Let me finish my question, because my understanding is if the president does a lot of crazy shit and they want to report on that accurately and portray it negatively as people who understand reality would, somehow now they should say, well, you're describing what I'm doing, I'm going to take away your license, because that's fucking insane to me. But tell me more.
It can't be overly partisan. That's according to the FCC.
What is overly partisan when you're just? What is overly partisan about illegally detaining people and stuff like that?
That was a question to make. Soy, it is totally valid to be a partisan if you are a normal person. You personally are totally allowed to be a partisan. If you are on MSNBC, you can be as partisan as you want. Rock on, be a partisan on Cartoon Network, right? But that's different than being a partisan on ABC. ABC cannot be partisan, and if there is a massive partisan slant,
they're not allowed to be partisan
across all 3 networks. That's a problem.
Is there a rule that says they're not allowed to have opinions on politics?
Yes,
I'm sorry.
there is a neutrality law.
No.
As I understand
the shows, not the corporation, the people on the shows are not allowed to have. Okay, so for decades, to be clear, wait, Jason, I gotta talk about this, Jason. To be clear, for decades and all this time, they've just been violating the law. Jimmy Kimmel saying anything that had anything to do with politics and didn't stand exactly on the center was a violation. The FCC should have revoked their licenses back in 2000.
The
The
aggregate
aggregate-
of the three networks.
okay.
should be
Hold on, what
approximately in
rule
the
are you
center
What
of the
rule are you
country.
talking about? How do you measure the aggregate of the politics of these
There's a
places?
neutrality law.
Can you
around
show me
these.
this, please?
Can you-
I
yeah,
think
can you link
this sounds
Sure.
insane to
Please
me.
this?
I
Because
understand there's a
that's why
neutrality
I
from
said
the corporations, but the
rude.
idea
It
that you
hasn't been
can't
proven.
It's the
broadcast certain
fairness,
shows
it's
or
the
you have
fairness
to.
It's the
doctrine
fairness
he's referring
doctrine
to.
of the Red
When was
Line
the fairness doctrine
Broadcasting
repealed?
Company versus FCC
Okay.
of
When was the fairness
1969.
doctrine repealed?
It wasn't repealed.
It
Yes,
wasn't.
it was.
Mhm.
It's no longer the rule.
I was gonna say, I think
pretty
somebody
sure
just
It
it's
hasn't
said,
been
still
for
in-
decades.
No, that's not true.
Hold on. When it comes to open airways, the fairness doctrine does apply.
Oh yeah,
When
in
it-
terms of
when
but
you're
those are the
talking
ones with
when you're talking
thousands of-
about cable and the internet, no,
Yeah.
it doesn't. So there's different
the
categories.
fairness, yeah. So to clarify, yeah, yes, it is. It has been originally was designed to be for all media, which made sense when there was only three media companies to talk about, only three airwaves. But now there are thousands of different radio places, and there's millions of different places on the internet. And so therefore, of course, you can say whatever the hell you want on your Twitch channel. Obviously, that's different than the case of those specific. It was overturned in a broad sense, meaning that you can say whatever the hell you want on cable, but you cannot say whatever the hell you want on ABC. That's not true.
If the
I mean, you guys remember
taxpayer
the-
is
the-
subsidizing it, you've got to show a little bit more fairness. I actually
I'm
have no
reading it was
problem
revoked in
with Jimmy
2011. I don't know
Kimmel
what you guys are talking about. but-
critiquing the president. Where the problem is that the other side is never
I
actually
don't see
shown,
this
and
rule
that's
anywhere. We haven't
It
had
said
the
it-
fairness doctrine in a
it
while.
did,
In fact, they've been trying to
yeah.
reinstate the fairness doctrine for years.
since the 80s.
But they,
do
yeah,
we
they,
at least
they haven't
do we
had
at
this
least
for-
remember the Equal Times Act
decades.
violation that
That's what I was
that
talking
SNL
about.
was hit with when
Equal
Kamala
time-
was on?
That doesn't apply to this. This isn't an election
No, I'm
season.
just making sure that we're on the same page that exists, right?
Yeah, that exists. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
the view has violated that since its inception.
Yeah,
Right,
mean,
and just to
there's
be
a lot of
clear, the
FCC
argument you guys are
violations
making
that
is the
go
fairness doctrine
on.
has been violated for the past 50 years by all these things who are always and have always been at least slightly left, if not more left. And
That's not
just
true.
now, all of a sudden, Trump
Well-
realized and woke everyone up, and that's why he's bringing it, and not
Okay,
what he's
well-
explicitly
Hold on,
saying,
just real quick,
which is
not true.
they're
Just real
being
quick.
too negative to me, and I want to take away their licenses. So
The FCC abolished the fairness doctrine in 1987.
87.
Did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
For which?
What you mean?
Just in general. It's not. It's not.
It was actually a
applicable anymore.
4-0. Okay.
4-0.
Yeah, it was a 4-0 decision. Syracuse Peace Council decision. Okay.
yeah,
I'll
it's
have to go
gone,
back.
man.
But Wick, I don't know why we're talking about it all, because even Donald Trump and the administration isn't citing this as the reason they're trying to take away these licenses. They're citing it
Yeah.
because they're like, hey, they're being too mean to me. That is the reason.
No.
And if you're
So-
okay with
so
that,
what Carr actually said is that under the deprecation of news or distortion of news, under distortion of news is what he was actually talking about, and he's like, we're going to
News
look into it.
distortion, to be clear, but
There's
yeah.
there's actually no evidence that the FCC did anything. In fact, there is evidence showing that it was the affiliate stations and the advertisers that
the
actually
Rolling
got
Stone
Kimmel
article
knocked
explicitly
off.
cites sources that say that they felt pressure from the FCC and their
You can
FCC
feel
was
pressure all
directing them.
you want, but until the FCC actually imposes a fine or some type
Oh.
of censure, there's nothing you can really do about that.
Do you
Pressure exists.
understand the
Frickin'
conceptual chilling effect of, hey, I'm going to revoke your
Obama
license if you
put
don't do
15
what I say?
journalists in prison, bro.
For what?
You want to talk about chilling
what?
effect?
did
Because
he
he
do?
wouldn't play along with them.
What is that?
Jesus.
Why he did it? So,
Well, let's,
because I didn't hear about this. If I look this up, are you going to just be completely
Obama.
wrong? Because that's what we've got. We're
No.
1 for 1 on that, and so I just want to make sure.
Had it. Let's see.
Everyone's
Was
Googling shit.
jailed.
They didn't research this beforehand. Okay, so first
I-
of all,
I've got
I
a
didn't even
whole
think I was
document
gonna
full of
bring
notes,
that
but
up.
we're not talking about that stuff
Here-
right
here-
now.
I didn't.
on the
Yeah,
news
I'll be honest. I did not expect this to be a
yeah, it's fine.
topic of contention. I knew that this was. I knew this was the case. I did not expect anyone to be surprised by it being. But I will find.
Well, the FCC rule that I think is being referred to by Confluence and Sparky. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Quibbles. But
Obama used the Espionage Act to put a record number of reporters and sources in jail because they wouldn't give out their sources. Okay, this is
that's not the same.
how is that not the same?
That's not.
How
the
is that not a
same.
chilling effect? How is
FCC did.
putting
What
putting
Carr did-
journalists in
what Carr
prison
did-
for protecting their sources, which is a constitutional protected right, for Christ's sakes?
Yeah, they shouldn't have done that is what I'm saying. The people
But
shouldn't have
If
been.
Well,
you're
don't
saying
even
that
grade
doesn't
that
have a
way.
chilling
Let's
effect on
wait.
speech, bro, I don't know what is.
I'd say arguably, if everything you're saying is true, which I highly doubt, and I'll read about it right now, then yeah, that would have a chilling effect. But that still does not deny the fact that, one, Obama's not president right now, and you can say, hey, I'm hypocritical for not having criticized him when I was 12. Sure,
Actually,
but
no, I'm not going to criticize you for that. I'm
well,
just
you
saying
should if it was
this
true.
is not the first time, okay? This
I
is
didn't
the
say
first
anything
time
about this
that a
as
president has chilled speech.
Okay,
Okay,
I
the
just
fact that there
well,
was
hold on. I
actually
just
no
want to be
action
real clear.
taken
I just want
is
to be real
more
clear about the
important.
FCC
Right, but the
rule
whole
because
reason
it's
I
being cited incorrectly. So the FCC rule requires three things for hoaxes, for news distortion, things like for hoaxes at least. It requires three things, two of which were cited. One was that it has to be a knowing lie. Okay, that has to be a knowing lie. Two, that the people approving it, the station approving it, has to have a reasonable expectation of public harm. Okay, and three, that the public harm has to actually occur. What is public harm? In that rule, you'll read the definition. It's threats, or it's damage, I should say, to property, to health, or to safety, or if it's taking away like cops or firefighters or something from those things to kind of do that. It's meant to stop something like a War of the Worlds hoax. That's what the rule is for. But to act as if Jimmy Kimmel, in his words, applies to that, I'll just ask you, who was harmed? Who was hurt?
no, you don't even have to get that far. So how was it even a knowing law? The first one was a lie. It wasn't.
I mean,
the
none of
first
it-
thing wasn't
none
even
of it
violated.
applies.
Okay, I
I
think
wonder
you
how
guys
Fox
just
is
you
still
guys
here.
just proved my point. I mean, that's the Harbeck cost is that now there's a bunch of lefties running around saying that it was a right-wing shooter. A bunch of people believe
that's
that
not
despite
harm
all
in
the
the definition of
evidence.
the
Wait,
rule, man.
First of
People
all,
believing a thing that's not
Believing
true is not harm in the
believing something
definition
is
of the
not
rule.
true is not
Guys,
necessarily
believing that's
harmful.
public- I think
You
that's
don't
Actually,
believe
that's spreading
believing
falsehood.
something that isn't
To believe
true
something is
isn't
not
a
true?
harm? Of course it's wait, stop. Let's zoom out. Believing something that is not true is harm. This is why Alex Jones
not
was sued for
necessarily.
$1 million.
Not necessarily.
If I believe I'm the
Yes.
prettiest boy in the
Why are
world,
we- wait,
am
wait.
I
Believing
harming
something that
myself?
is not true about someone who was just killed in a political assassination is obviously harm. If you
Not
believe
by
that
the
Alex
definition
Jones
in the
deserved to be
FCC.
sued
What
as he
property is
was
harmed by
for
that?
I'm
Where
sorry?
are you?
We've
where
come
are you
full
seeing
circle,
this?
guys. Now the
What
right wing is
property got
telling me that words are harm.
destroyed,
Which,
or
where
to
are
be
you
clear,
seeing that?
is
What property
sometimes
was
true.
destroyed in the Alex
But this
Jones
is so
case?
funny
I'm
because
looking
he
at
did not
FCC
even
thing.
fucking
No, no, no,
necessarily
wait,
lie
wait,
about
wait,
it.
wait,
This
wait,
is
wait,
so
wait,
ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I want to what harm was there from the Alex Jones case
We're
when he
not
was
talking about
lying
the Alex
about
Jones. Ask my question again.
the
We
shooting
have the Kimmel
victims?
case, which is the one that we are adjudicating today, right?
My point is that these are exactly one-to-one parallel
And
in this
also,
context,
no,
right?
because wasn't the Alex Jones thing a civil suit?
It was a civil
No,
suit.
Wick,
Yeah.
the distinction here is the Alex Jones thing did manifest in real harm. It's not one-to-one because it's not an FCC violation. It's Alex Jones causing harm to the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting by lying about them. But to be clear, Jimmy Kimmel did not lie. In the best interpretation, you can say he might have said that this guy was a MAGA shooter, but that's not, one, proving intent, and two, a lie, because you can also interpret it as that, hey, MAGA is trying to push this on everyone but themselves, which is exactly what they did, because before we had any information, they were claiming it was a trans shooter.
But we're not we're not all autistic here, right? We know what an implication is. Like if you take a super literal reading of it, I agree, and I think that's what Wick tried to do yesterday, which I think maybe Wick had too much in utero Tylenol or something, because like that's too literal of a reading. I think anyone who like looks at that is going to see
say it, but we're gonna say he said it because.
But he did say the implication.
He didn't say it.
Look, when Nick Fuentes talks about how you can't bake 6 million cookies, he didn't say anything about the Holocaust, but we all know what he means. There's a clear implication for anyone who's not like terminally.
Wait, confluence. In good faith, because I understand. When I first heard this, I said you could absolutely interpret this as him saying the shooter was MAGA. But can you at least acknowledge that there's definitely not 100% proof of intent there, and it's very plausible.
Do you guys a good faith reading in a different direction?
Plausible.
I do, Soypill. I
Do you-
actually do
okay.
acknowledge.
Plausible now.
I do acknowledge it's possible, but I think would you acknowledge that? I think probably let's say 90% of people that listened to Kimmel that day heard him say that the shooter was probably MAGA.
That's very possible.
That's what
That's
most
possible,
people-
and I'm
possible,
acknowledging
you said
that.
probably.
But the problem is the FCC violation says proof and intent of lying, not, well, people might have walked away with this with the wrong thing, which is a fair criticism to have, but that is not why they're taking this down, and that's not why they're threatening these people. And it's
so Here's
Okay,
the
so
deal.
actually, but wait, I want to ask a quick question then. So let's say Nick Fuentes was on ABC and he said his 6 million cookies, you couldn't bake those in a given time. Would you say, well, would you be sitting here and say,
no,
well,
I
I
wouldn't,
understand why
because
people would say
because
it,
Nick
but like
Fuentes is
literally
a
he didn't
neo-Nazi,
say
and
it.
Jimmy Kimmel does not have the same precedent in history that Nick Fuentes does. So I don't think this is a good
Okay.
analogy.
Wait, how is that? How is that
Well,
not a good
one of
analogy?
them's like,
If
there's
we're
literally
looking at
no
the
other
statement
way you could
itself-
interpret
Well-
this, unless for some reason Nick Fuentes
Well, you
just
could take
happened
the
to pick a
literal case,
random
you could-
number of
yeah, maybe
cookies
he's
that happen to be 6
exactly.
million.
Well,
And the
would
other
you
is a
admit that's
very
possible?
reasonable. When I say reasonable, you reasonably agreed that it could be that what he said was something that I believe, which is that MAGA was trying to paint this as anyone but themselves, right?
I
They were
think if
saying this
99%
person
of
is
your
trans.
audience takes
This
something some way, that is significant. And I think you agreed with me that the vast majority of
That's-
people watching that
I said that that's
what
possible. I
you
didn't
even
agree
heard
with
the
you.
first time. You even said that the first time you heard it, that's what it sounded like. How many people are
I did.
rewinding it over and over and listening to the literal words?
It
and being
doesn't
like, "Wait, is
matter.
there
The
another
point is, does the
interpretation?"
FCC have the standard that he intended to lie about it? Maybe he truly even believed it. That's
Well,
a
they would have
completely
to
different story.
look, I
But
don't
it's
I don't
also
even
possible
know.
to multiple ways of
Look,
interpretation,
the
and you're
way that
stretching it
they-
to
the way that they would
well,
actually
he
enforce
definitely
this-
intended to
Investigated.
lie, and that's why it's okay that they got him off the
So-
air.
So the
Well,
way
when
that
the-
they would
by the
actually
way,
enforce
you can't-
this,
All of
can't
you guys
deny
are
the
bending
Sinclair
over
and the
to
Netstar
strictly
stuff.
interpret this in a very strict way. When the president is contradicting you on television, saying, "Actually, I don't give a fuck about that. It's because he's being mean to me." So I don't know why we
Donald
keep
Trump
playing
says
these
a bunch
games.
of nonsense.
He's
I
the
mean, like,
fucking
I don't-
president. Stop
He's a
hiding behind that and
understand.
grading him on a
Like,
curve.
I'm not hiding behind that. I just am
Hey.
open. I'm honest with you. He says a lot of shit. I
Soy,
mean, like, what do you want?
I
You want
will
me to, like,
accept that argument.
deep
comes
throat
to
Trump
fruition
the whole
from
time?
from the shit he says.
Wait, I
He's
will
not just
accept
saying
that
shit.
argument the moment proof is produced that Trump actually called Carr and said, "Go ahead, get him off the air, pull their license." You do that, you show me
Hold
some
on,
kind of
hold
proof,
on.
I
some
mean, he
evidence,
just
Sparky,
tweeted
hold on,
and I'll
something
be
along
more than
those
happy.
lines.
He
Hold on.
is literally saying that in the video. Do you want to watch? He's like, I think they should probably have their license revoked. It's up to Brendan Carr, but well, I
It's
don't
up
know.
to
Maybe he
Brendan
could
Carr.
interpret
He's
it
not
multiple
given
ways.
an order. That's
Oh,
a big difference.
Okay, well, all right, cool,
Okay,
fair
come
enough.
on.
No,
But
But
okay.
you see, he like
Obviously,
pretty much
just like-
admitted it.
Just like when your buddy Destiny,
My buddy,
basically
yeah.
does the whole rid me of this priest bullshit.
What?
It's
Won't
yes
someone
when he's
rid me of this troublesome priest? It's a famous
Yes.
quote. Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
if I don't know if Destiny said that, but if he did, I would also interpret that as bad. If you're talking about his stuff about like
Definitely did
Republicans
not
should be
say that, by
scared,
the way.
No, he
you
did
should
not
know
say
that
those
I've
words.
confronted him publicly about
He
this
inferred
twice.
him.
So I'm absolutely doing that. Like, not
yes,
like,
I have
letting that
actually
slide.
seen you confront him, and I actually think that's kind of based, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Nothing
Hold
makes
on.
me
Look,
question
Can
my
we
choices
not-
more
hold
than when
on.
all the MAGA
Can we
people
not
agree with me,
understand when
by
the
way.
FCC, Carr, right, the chair of the FCC, goes on a program, right? I think it was
Mhm.
Benny Johnson's podcast, and says,
Mhm.
we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way.
Yes.
Do we not interpret that at least as a threat?
No, I will tell you 100% that is a threat.
Okay, so
Okay.
this
However,
is
they
why
haven't-
you are
Threat
not
adjacent.
allowed. The government is
But-
not allowed to make threats.
The
to
fuck they
private
aren't.
companies.
The
to
Thanks for
actual
the
fuck
5
they
disease
aren't.
Do
Mo.
this,
Why is Trump allowed to
or
spread
we will
rumors about
punish
Haitian
you.
immigrants eating
And
dogs?
you are
But Kimmel
insane if you
could say
think
that
the
he thinks
government-
MAGA
Yeah,
shot
well,
Kurt.
Why do you think
Um,
that's not?
And they
a thing that
complied
can
in
happen?
advance. Well, to be
Because
clear, they're not
the
1-to-1 because the
Supreme
president's
Court
not
has
under
ruled
FCC
several
rules.
times
But yeah,
that the
it's
government cannot
ridiculous.
use coercive threats to pressure a private corporation to
And yet the
For
FCC
their
exists
speech.
today. The FCC has been doing that against radio stations and broadcasters their
Can
entire
Can you
history.
give me another
They
time where the
impose
chair of the
fines.
FCC publicly threatened to remove a broadcaster for their speech?
If I remember right, what was it? Sinclair was actually threatened by the FCC a while back, I think, for the radio shit.
Jason, while you're looking that
I'll
up,
have to
I
look it
just
up.
want to be clear. Like, I think what you're painting is these regulatory bodies absolutely are going to have some sort of pressure on these institutions always.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, if the FEMA was like, hey, here are conditions of aid, you can't take this money, Mr. Mayor, and then spend it all on gambling, that is coercive pressure, right? But if you said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm not going to give you this money if you say anything bad about Trump, which is, by the way, something that Republicans have floated recently, that's different. That is not, hey, we're making sure you're doing what you are supposed to be doing with this money. That is saying, if you are not explicitly partisan towards me, I will not allow you to have the thing that you have.
That's emphatically not what Carr said. Okay, right? Like you acknowledge.
Well,
that.
first of all, he literally wrote this in Project 2025. If you want to go read about how he wants to do this, and I don't know if he explicitly said what I just said for that FEMA example, but he has this has been planning this out. He wrote that section in Project 2025 in fucking like October. So like, yes, this is absolutely what he's been trying to do.
I think we have to look at the case on Benny Johnson. What did he say? What was the exact thing? He didn't say you need to be more charitable towards Trump. He said what he said about Charlie Kirk could be an FCC violation, and it could be. He's not even saying it is.
Could be.
I'm not even saying it is. It could be, and he's back on the air. So I guess the FCC pressure wasn't enough,
and the
And at
election
the
wasn't
end of the
stolen,
day-
so no harm, no foul. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
God,
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just
the
saying
2020 election is coming
you can
on, bro. I
acknowledge
don't
it's
even care.
also probably pressure from the syndicates like Sinclair and Netstar and stuff too, right? That probably had a play in it. It probably wasn't
That's why
just
the
Well,
FCC
what was
threatened them
pressuring
too.
them?
Right? The
Right.
FCC car in that same program, he said he called upon the affiliates to do this, or else they'd have to take measures. And remember, Sinclair and what was the other group? Nexstar? Yeah, they both
Netstar.
have. Nexstar has a multi-billion-dollar merger that still needs approval by the FCC, right? In the
Disney
works.
still has one
And-
going with NFL Network too.
Yeah, and the
So I mean,
Sinclair-
there's a lot
Sinclair
of
is always making purchases of TV stations that require FCC approval.
Mhm.
So
And-
again, you understand how when the FCC head says, "Hey, unless you do this, we're going to have an issue." This is multi-billions of dollars
With
that are
just,
on the line.
I want to add to this because I hope you're not talking hypothetically. This is exactly what happened with Colbert and the Paramount merger. This was not we understand we violated something, we're going to like do XYZ. They settled a case that was completely frivolous and got rid of Colbert because of the pressure from the admin that said, we are going to approve your merger and we won't do it if you don't do
Do
this.
you grant
And
that
then
there has been pressure? Wait, sorry. Do you grant that there's been pressure by the left in similar ways? On Spotify in the case of Joe Rogan, on Facebook in the case of COVID stuff, on
I would say
YouTube
the
and
word
Google as
similar would be
well.
carrying too much weight because none of this is about criticism of a person. It is about potentially harmful misinformation. But yes, there's always going to be some sort of pressure from the
Wait,
administration.
what do you mean? Wait, why do you think that those are different?
Okay, so one of them is I don't like the
In
way
In
these
terms of the
people are
free
talking
speech
about
rights of
me.
the people.
And hey, potentially the things you're saying, like, because I agree, I didn't disagree with this. When you said words could be harmful, yeah, when Joe Rogan's dipshit goes out and says, you don't need to get the vaccine, just take hydroxychloroquine or whatever, and it potentially is going to kill millions of people with his rhetoric, I can understand the government having concerns and wanting to step in there, and I might be okay with certain amounts of pressure being applied, versus, hey, you're being too
What kinds of
negative
pressure?
towards me, and
What
you need
kinds
to
of
stop.
pressure and on
Do you
whom?
understand
For a
that those
private
things are different?
company?
Wait. What kinds of pressure and on whom? Because to be clear,
Well,
in the case of Alex Jones,
for
he did something
example,
illegal.
what
And to be clear,
happened-
Joe Rogan did not do anything illegal, right?
I didn't say he did anything illegal.
He-
What I
nobody
said
said he
was,
did.
if
Okay,
you want
so
to
it is
potentially
different to go
talk
after
to a
Alex
company and
Jones.
say, hey, we've noticed that these types of misinformation are spreading on your platform that could
Mob
cause
boss.
harm, for example, vaccine
Threaten them.
denialism. And I'm not saying, like, first of all, no, because what are they threatening them with? If they're saying, hey, you don't have to take this down,
What are
I
they
understand there could be.
threatening Spotify
What,
with? Are you
what
serious?
what were they threatening them with? Seriously.
Spotify obviously needs shit from the government. Every large
What were they
organization
threatening them
needs
What
with?
shit
was
from
the
the
threat?
What, okay,
government.
I'm sorry. Can you show me? Because maybe I'll agree with you. This is true. If Elizabeth Warren was like, we're going to take away your like ability to fucking broadcast
Elizabeth
if
Warren
you don't
was
do what
claiming
we
that she
say.
wanted to break up Facebook. She was threatening to break them up as a company. Obviously, that would cost them many billions of dollars. Of course, that is a cost to them. The same
Hasn't
thing
she
goes
been
for
advocating
Spotify.
for that
The
before
same thing
any
goes for
COVID or
YouTube.
any misinformation shit
No,
before?
she's been doing it explicitly in conjunction with her complaints about their speech, the speech that is on their platforms.
Okay, that's fair then. If that's exactly how
Okay,
you're
so
representing
that's
it.
bad.
Hold on, wait.
Elizabeth Warren's
If
done
that is how
shit,
you're
Kamala
representing
Harris
it,
has
if
done that
Warren is
shit, right?
explicitly threatening them with breaking up if they don't do what she says, I would say that is a similar amount of pressure, although I would say the motivations are completely fucking different depending on, hey, I want to save
Okay,
people
so
by
the
getting the vaccine.
motivations are
Yes,
good
the
and
motivations
holy, so
absolutely
because the
do change
motivations
whether or
are
not there's a
lovely and
violation of
lovey-dovey,
freedom
it's
of
totally
speech,
fine.
because obviously we're willing to give up certain rights when it comes to the fact that we might be killing millions of people. But regardless of that, I'm still not sure if that's exactly what happened
I have a
because of
question.
your
Wait, I'm
completely
sorry, let's zoom
failure
out.
to
I have a question.
understand
Just to be
the
fair, Elizabeth
FCC
Warren
FCC
did say that in
equal rights law.
2019.
or
It
equal,
was before COVID. It was before COVID.
Oh, it was?
She certainly
It was-
ramped it
it was
up during
2019.
COVID.
It was
Okay, so
2019.
She
just
may
to
have
be clear,
said
that's like
certain-
2
she
or
may have
3
said it
times
a
now you've
couple
completely
times.
misrepresented
She's
something, and I've like granted you the good faith of saying
That
if
is
you're
not
right,
completely
and then
representing. Okay,
to
that
be
is
clear-
not
no,
completely
yeah, you're just wrong
representing.
100%. She did not do
That's
that
not
specifically
wrong.
for that. That was
Around
always
COVID.
part of her
Wrong.
platform. Yeah,
She
that's
said
wrong.
it primarily around COVID. I'm sure if you really
I'm sorry,
searched
do you
the
remember
web,
10
you
minutes
could
ago when you
find
said
some
she
one-off things
explicitly
said
did
by
not do
either
it
Carr or
before, and now
Trump
you're saying
back
that
in
is the case?
2023
No, he said
before
the
anything
opposite.
that
He
Kimmel
said she
said.
might have done it, and that's what he just said. He said she might have
No,
started
yeah, he
pre-COVID
just said it,
and
but 10
ramped
minutes
it
ago
up.
he said, no, she wasn't. It was explicitly this, just to be clear.
It was about COVID. Yes, there was some stuff that she said prior to COVID, just as this is about Kimmel, but certainly you could find examples of shit that Trump has said 6 months ago and
he
that Carr said
explicitly-
6 months ago.
He explicitly
Obviously.
said
Well,
about
it's funny
COVID.
because if you look at
Obviously about
Carr's
Kimmel
statements in
now,
the past,
it
it's actually the
obviously was
opposite.
about
When Joe
COVID.
Biden
It
was
was obviously
president,
about
Brendan
Joe
Carr
Rogan.
said, I actually do think that criticizing the president, such as with his satirical comedy, should be allowed, and we should encourage this sort of thing.
Yes,
and then
and
as soon as
Elizabeth
Trump
Warren has
became
said some
president,
lovely
then
things
he
in
absolutely is
2012
flipping on
too.
this, and he's trying to like help his fucking like
How is he flipping on
egotistical.
this? This is about Charlie Kirk and misinformation in the face of a tragedy. This isn't about Kimmel saying something bad about Trump.
Do you guys live in like this fucking? Are you guys horses? Can you tell me now if you guys are horses?
One at a time.
Have you seen the movie Seabiscuit? Do you just have blinders on and like the
Logic.
past and the future and
Sorry,
everything that this
going back,
administration
but
has
I
been
wanna
doing is
clarify.
like
No,
completely
Quibble,
irrelevant? It's
shut
like, well,
up.
no, we're just
Soy,
looking at
shut
this
up.
1 second
Shut up.
and I'm believing
Shut up.
them at their word.
Shut up. Quibble, I'm sorry, Logix wants to go. He's been trying to get in. We're gonna give the mic to Logix. Go ahead, Logix.
I just find this is what's happening. Y'all are picking out one instance and then looking at it in a vacuum and be like, oh, well, maybe this is why. Oh, it doesn't matter what Brendan said back in 2020. It doesn't matter. He just said this now or whatever. Y'all keep picking things apart and trying to dissect it as if we don't have this framework that's been going on since 2016 that we can look at and see the sequence of events that lead to Trump is putting his hand in things and results are coming of that. And then just because it doesn't go his way, you're like, oh, well, it's all okay. Nothing bad actually happened, even though time and time again we see this pattern of behavior. Like, look at this as an entire sequence of events, not one thing.
I agree. We should look at this as an entire sequence.
Hey, before you
Let's
go,
zoom out.
hold on. Some housekeeping things, okay? Before you go, because I need to make a little money.
Zoom out. Okay.
I'm gonna read some. I'll give you the mic as soon as I'm done with this. So first of all, we got 252 watching and 17 likes. What the hell? Like the fucking stream, okay? I don't know what you're doing. Let me read some super chats and we'll get back to it. We don't have too many. $5 from Gen X to say, please get Will Byrd back in another debate with better opponents soon. Have him reach out to me if he's interested in a topic. $5 from Testicle Johnson to say, Aircraft Sparky looks like diabetes and hypertension all at once.
Cool story. Show your face on the internet, fucker.
Gen X, thank you for the membership, Tier 1. Fancy Teeth for $2 says, should Fox be taken off if under the doctrine? Well, Fox, as I understand it,
Fox is not under their broadcasting
Fox is
license.
cable. No.
Fox
Just
actually
like
has
CNN
legally
and
argued
MSNBC
that
aren't
they're
under that
not
either.
news, which allows them to get away with a lot more, and still had to settle that Dominion lawsuit for hundreds of millions of dollars for fucking lying. So,
all right, finish the
$5. I'm not done yet. $5 from
go for it.
Potentially Criminal to say, had Carr not dabbed on Kimmel's removal on the Benny Johnson stream, this wouldn't have been an issue. This is where I had the problem on my end, and the super chatter is right. Carr, after he was fired, said he did the what was the gif of the people going whoop whoop, we got him, right? Like Carr said he did it.
he also posted
yes,
this is Project 2025. I definitely was going to do this the whole time. We lied about it to you during the election. I'm very happy we're doing this.
Yeah, $10 from Will from Texas to say the Bush admin, including Ari Fleischer, I don't know, publicly pressured ABC about Bill Maher, Jimmy Kimmel's late night predecessor. This really isn't completely unprecedented. Thank you for the $10, William from Texas.
Yeah,
and with that, Quibbles,
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So, Logix, you are correct that we are sort of like focusing in on this very hyper-specific niche moment in history, and then there's a broader context of shit that's been happening for 15 years. There are certain things that are like, obviously the left is more guilty of the thing, or in terms of election lies, that's the right, okay? Obviously the right is. In terms of who's getting subsidies by the government in order to make their speech, that's the left, right? All of the subsidies are.
Quibbles,
Quibble,
can
you
you
keep cutting out.
Yeah, you need to adjust your
noise
mic.
floor.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
It's every time you lean back.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. If I just like lean forward, is it gonna be fine?
Probably.
It's fine. So
or
far.
just shout more.
Okay, I'll do this.
How about we all shout more?
Exactly right.
I think we're at a fine level right now.
This is perfect. Okay, I'll speak exactly like this the entire time with no inflection. Okay, So in terms of like money given by the government to speech, giant billion-dollar subsidy, all of that is going to the left. That's a problem. It is reasonable to talk about it. In terms of the pressures
Wait,
that are
before you
being
move on, why is
placed
that a problem?
by governmental officials onto the non-governmental, that is clearly something that Elizabeth is guilty of. That Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are
Quibbles, you're still
something that
cutting
a
out.
lot.
Yeah.
Really?
Cut it out, pal. Yeah.
We assessed
Okay.
I
incorrectly.
don't know why.
Infuriating.
Telling you that your
Hold
words
up.
need to be censored. Okay,
Yeah.
let's give
Okay,
it
how
to.
about this? Is this gonna?
We get what your point is, though.
That's not the one I wanted to
Start on the first one though. About
Someone get rid of St.
your
Pepsi.
claim here that only the
idiot.
left is getting subsidies by the
Look, I'm doing
government.
N-word
and that's a
towers.
problem. Soypill had a
Yeah.
question about that. Soypill asked
disagree
a
with that.
question.
Yeah.
And
One sec, I have
Yeah,
to deal
yeah.
with an N-word poster in chat. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah.
he said Nazi in chat. What's going on? It's the
No,
N-word.
the other one.
Nuclear?
He
The
said
other
neighbor.
N-word.
Saw me and
Nuclear?
just lost it.
He said neighbor.
You know,
Why would
I
he
don't know if
even
this
do
makes me
that?
less
That's so
racist, but when I
unnecessary,
read that
man.
N-word, I didn't think it was directed at you at all. I was like, this guy's just being a dick.
I don't even know if it was Soy. I'm just talking.
I assumed it was directed at me personally.
True.
Let's
That's
let's
what I
not do
thought.
the I am Spartacus scene with the word. All right, Wick, what was the question?
Yes. So
Your question.
Quibbles made a claim that I want to talk about. And then Quibbles said that it is a problem that only the left is getting these government subsidies, ABC, NBC, CBS, and that's a problem.
Mm.
And so you had a question for him.
Yes, my question was,
it-
one, I don't believe this is necessarily true. Obviously, if you're specifically talking about these FCC license things, yes, these things are leaning left. But the idea that it's like the people receiving speech are disproportionately left. Well, here's the thing. If I look at the fact that, the Murdochs or the, the Koch brothers are able to fund billions of dollars worth of things without government assistance, it's like, yeah, okay. But why is... Huh?
Hold on. I can actually answer this.
Wait,
I can
hold
actually
on.
answer this.
Now I can't hear
AM
Quibbles at
radio.
all.
AM radio. AM radio is mostly dominated by conservatives, and AM radio gets subsidies from
that as well.
the
Thank
government.
you, Jason, for acknowledging that.
How many people listen to AM radio though
A
compared to
lot,
cable
a
TV?
lot.
A lot.
But compared to
That's
cable
why
TV,
anyone knows who
wow.
Rush
So
Limbaugh
too, a lot of people
is.
listen to NPR. There's something directly comparable, which is NPR, and that is also subsidized by the government, right?
Well, not much longer.
Yes,
So I'm
NPR
asking,
is
like, what
definitely
is the
subsidized by the
billion-dollar
government, yes.
comparable
Isn't it, like,
thing
not
to
anymore?
ABC, CBS?
Well,
No,
hold
it
on.
still is.
I was saying
it's
the
a huge
idea that
amount
this
of
is
people for
explicitly
both of
left,
them.
like, is I think
Yeah.
kind of, if you want to say a majority of it is, sure. My question is, why is that a problem?
It's a problem because there's billions of dollars in public money that is going to the progressive movement or to the Republican movement, and it's clear that it's substantially more going to the progressive movement, and that is an issue.
Well, see,
How is
that
not
was
a,
now the
Soypill,
difference.
How is that not a problem?
Because now that's what I'm thinking is the highlight here that I don't think really is borne out. When you say, well, if we look at specifically in terms of news broadcasting, there's billions of dollars from public money going to this, but then you're going to ignore all of the billions of dollars of subsidies that people like Elon Musk get and then put into Republican campaigns, all of the companies that get, billions of dollars of subsidies.
Money, though.
It is government.
That's
This is government money. So the idea of like, well, it only matters when it's in this specific sector of the news. I just don't understand why that is why you're hyper-focusing
Aren't you
on
talking
that.
about Elon Musk funding? Because Elon Musk is not the government.
Elon Musk is not directly getting
Maybe I misheard
money.
you.
Elon Musk is not directly getting money from the government in order to create propaganda.
No, he's getting money.
Hold on.
Sorry, his companies that he funds primarily is getting funding from the government, allowing him to free up funds to influence stuff in the government right-wing wise. But it's not direct public funds going to direct right-wing things, just like the subsidies for NPR aren't going specifically to...
This is ridiculous. This is just obviously ridiculous. Every single large public organization or private organization is going to get some number of dollars. In the case of giant trillion-dollar companies, billions of dollars in terms of government grants, obviously. That doesn't mean that somehow those private organizations doing speech is the same as something being done on ABC or something where it is a direct subsidy.
Do you think it's an issue that primarily university... Hold on. I have to address what he just said. Wait, I have to address what he just said. Do you think it's an issue if universities, which are primarily left-wing, are getting disproportionate government funding since there's not as many right-wing universities that are being funded for research or any of this other stuff?
I don't think that it is the case that there is a lack of conservative desire to create propaganda in a way that I agree that there is a lack of conservative to create, education in the soft sciences.
Well, the idea
it's
that you're
perfectly
framing this
appropriate
like, it's like, yes, there's no equivalent because there doesn't need to be, because Fox News doesn't need that government funding. They don't need the FCC license. So like,
Wait, I'm sorry. Let's zoom out. We need to have funding for the military, right? The military is going to be majority conservative people who are in support, right? We need to have funding for science research. Science research is going to be majority progressives that are in support. That doesn't mean that we're benefiting the progressive movement by funding research and development in the
So the reason I brought up the Elon Musk example, to be clear, because you seem to not be okay with that, is that by giving him billions in subsidies that he needs to get all of the money that has acquired his billion, if not now $1 trillion wealth, that he now uses to influence Republican politics positively and help get Trump elected, that is a direct one-to-one. I understand, yes.
It's not a direct
it sounds like you're literally just saying, wait, I want to say something. Soy Pill, it sounds like your entire argument is that money is fungible. And like, yeah, that's true. But like, I feel like that's different than directly funding propaganda, right? Like,
well,
yes, I agree.
First of all, I have not
granted
that it's propaganda.
So if like Elon gets a grant from something else and it uses that money, sure.
Jimmy Kimmel is propaganda? Really?
No, I think it's a comedy show that is very slanted left, but propaganda is not what I would call it.
That's what propaganda is. He's clearly pushing a political agenda.
I think that's stretching the definition of propaganda. I think fair enough. In certain examples, you could call this propaganda, but I think I would consider this very different from trying to specifically push a specific political message and maybe deceiving or limiting the scope of what that is, and not a person who is having an opinion.
Prop. I'll agree there.
Okay. Wait.
Some of it is. Some of it is.
Jimmy Kimmel is seeking to get people to vote for the Democrats.
What is your limits of what is propaganda? Is anyone who promotes the Democratic Party, is that propaganda?
I think anyone who is explicitly seeking in a partisan way to get people to vote a particular direction is someone who is an example of someone who's pushing a political agenda. If the context is you're getting paid by the government to push a political agenda.
Well, once again, they're not getting paid. Subsidies is different.
In the same way, I think that like there is a difference
between getting paid.
That's the same. Well, actually, that is true. Jimmy Kimmel's not paid by the government. Jimmy Kimmel is paid by a corporation that is paid by the government, which is not the same thing. Just to be clear. Second of all, if he has a political message and everything encompassed under a person with a political agenda is propaganda, then I guess that's your definition. That's incredibly broad.
No. That's, to be clear, that's not what I said. I said that if you are getting paid by the government in order to push a political agenda, that's an example.
That's not what he's doing. He's not being paid in order to push a government agenda or a political agenda.
Is propaganda. That's different than something being done on Fox or CNN. Right.
Having a political ideology and being a TV show host doesn't make you a propagandist because you lean a certain way automatically, especially if you're going to make the caveat of you're getting paid to do this. That's not the reason he's getting paid. He's getting paid to host a comedy show. Just because he has a political leaning, that isn't we're paying Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay,
you're treating it as if it's like
absolutely the case. It is absolutely the case that if every single host of ABC is exclusively across the board, every single one of them with any reasonable slot is trying to get people to vote for the Democrats, then it is obviously a prerequisite to have the position that Jimmy Kimmel has, that you want people to vote for the Democrats, right? That is very different in the case of ABC than it would be on Fox or CNN. Because one of them is getting $1 billion subsidy from the government, and the
is it me? Did I die?
No.
I think everyone was stun locked. No. So
stun locked them. Yeah.
No, hold on.
Everyone was stun locked about how your mic cut out
again.
Bro.
Oh shit! Really? Again?
Yeah. Hold on, just real quick. You understand that I can point to an equivalent on the right that is also publicly paid for, even though it's not paid for, subsidized in the same way, and that's the entirety of AM radio, which again, the reason why we don't have the fairness doctrine anymore is because Reagan got rid of it, because the AM radio shows didn't want that shit anymore, because they wanted to push the right stuff. Like you had the Rush Limbaugh show, you had Glenn Beck, you had all these guys who made their start on the right-wing radio circuit, the AM circuit. They were all getting government subsidies like this, right? So when you say, well, only the left has this government subsidies that they're getting, That's just not true.
Wick, what would you
How many
guess?
AM?
I don't know this answer either, but what would you guess they were getting in subsidies versus these like cable news giant billion-dollar corporations?
I mean,
Like, do
that's
you
not a
think
good
that's
metric to
like
measure because
I feel
AM
like
is a
all
lot
this is a
cheaper to
red
maintain,
herring
but
to- I
reaches
feel like
more
this is a
people,
red
and the
herring.
message is way bigger. But that's
How is
all-
that a red herring?
Because it's like the topic
You
is
don't
like
think the amount of money?
what you're nitpicking at this point to get away from the obvious discretions of Trump. Like that's what we're talking about.
I'll admit of the indiscretions of Trump. I'm very open with that. Like, I am incredibly open with that.
Well, but
I think
Confluence, the
case
issue
that
is
both
that
Confluence
you
and
could
I are
spend a
making
lot
pretty
less
clearly.
money because it cost a lot less to maintain AM radio and still reach the exact same amount of people, if not more, depending on what your message is. So, like, if you're worried about
That's not a
propaganda,
subsidy.
Hold
That's
on.
just
Reading-
being good at your job.
Well, hold on.
Does anyone
you're
actually
receiving
think
the
AM
money-
radio is reaching the same amount of
I'm
people
sorry.
as cable?
no,
Hold
no,
on.
I'm not saying
Look,
that's the case.
When I
just
mentioned
not a
AM
subsidy.
radio, all
Hold
of
on,
y'all
I
went,
think we can measure
what?
this. I think
I'm
there
sorry,
are more
I'm
people
sorry,
who
I'm sorry.
listen to AM
Mr.
radio than
Beast-
listen to Jimmy Kimmel. Yes.
Yeah,
No, but
Mr.
I'm
Beast
saying
gets
cable
watched-
versus
wait, I'm sorry.
that's a false comparison, Wick. I'm saying all of AM versus all of cable. Who do you think tunes in more? Obviously, it's cable, right?
I don't know if that's true either.
I
because
don't know
I
if
know a
that's
lot
true.
of
Come on,
I know a
that's
lot
common.
of jobs and businesses that have the AM radio on
Right.
all the time. Fucking.
This
all
isn't
the
relevant to Soy's claim there. Soy, you just said that there are more people who watch AM radio or listen rather to AM.
No, what I
The
said,
ABC.
what I said,
What did
was
you
to
say?
be clear, is that if you're narrowing down hyper specifically and saying, well, which one gets more money? Obviously, you could potentially have a bigger reach and get the same amount of message out. Potentially, I don't know if this is the case. I don't know the
Sure.
exact numbers by spending a lot less money because AM radio has a lot lower of an overhead than cable news
Good.
network.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, the issue with that though is that we're not talking about who has more reach because Mr. Beast has more reach than any of these people. But Mr. Beast is not getting a massive subsidy from the government.
The point
right?
is the amount of money you're getting
there's not
is
money
not.
on the scale to try to fuck over one side or
Why
if
do you
Mr.
say
Beast
try to
decided
fuck
tomorrow-
over?
now he's
Is that do you think the
ultra-rabid
federal
socialist.
government is trying to fuck over the right by giving these people FCC broadcasting licenses?
Yes, I think there are billions of dollars
Absolutely.
towards the propaganda of one
Absolutely.
side of the party line against
do you
the other.
not see
Absolutely.
Oh, we
that,
should take
brother?
away all
Even
AM
Jason's shaking his
broadcasting
head at y'all.
licenses as well.
You think that's why they do
buy
it?
into that.
Just to
I
be
think that there
clear,
are billions
I
of
don't buy into the
dollars
grand
that are
conspiracy that
going
the government's
to
trying to
ABC
do that kind of shit.
and NBC and CBS that are not going to conservative equivalents, and obviously that does have the impact of billions of dollars benefiting.
you can
the
say
left.
the billions of dollars are disproportionately favored to people that are reporting with a liberal bias. Obviously this is objectively true. I'm asking you
Okay.
if your claim is that the reason that they give this money is to spread left-wing propaganda. Like the federal government is
Yes.
on board with this.
The federal government has been allowing them to rake in billions of dollars of subsidies for decades at this point. And to be clear, most of that time,
No.
they were
Quibbles,
not
Quibbles.
clearly
I don't
of
think you're
the
understanding my
left.
question, Quibbles.
For most of that time, they were not clearly of the left, but now they are clearly of the left. So since they are now of the left, I think that the
When did it change?
impact
But then
of
why
the
did they do it
decision-
in the first
Yeah.
place?
Yeah, the impact of the decision when they are approximately of the center is different than the impact of this decision when they are clearly of the left. Now that they are clearly of the left, to continue the policy is to be a subsidy to the left.
Okay,
While they
so
were of
if
the
we,
center,
so
it
do you
was
think they
not,
should also
right?
reduce, get rid of these subsidies for AM radio now that it's disproportionately overwhelmingly right wing?
No, because AM radio is not a real number. Number one,
A
and
real
number
number.
two, there is a
It's
comparable
literally
thing,
wait,
which is
dude. Voice of
NPR,
America
which
is
clearly
like
of the left.
hundreds of millions
Do you-
of or something like
Okay.
weekly listeners.
hold on,
What are you
hold on.
talking about?
Get subsidies from the government. It is
Uh-huh.
not a substantial amount,
Uh-huh.
right? AM radio gets a subsidy from the government. It is not a substantial amount.
Why?
If you're
Wait,
asking
this is
me in
back
my
to my
perfect
argument about the
utopia
amount of money,
whether either
Quibbles.
one of
Why
them-
does the amount matter? Doesn't it matter how much they're spreading the message?
Because we're talking about a thumb on the scale. And so the number of dollars from the government is the thumb.
No,
We're not
the
asking
thumb
whether
is whether or not you
the
can,
left
whether
is
or not
winning
you're
or
able
the
to
right is
continue
winning. We're asking
broadcasting,
where the
Quibbles.
thumb is.
No, Quibbles. If the government said,
I'll tell
"Hey,
you where the
you
thumb
need
is.
this $10,"
The
or you
thumb is
cannot,
down,
no,
Wick.
listen,
The thumb is down. down. This is bad.
Quibbles, the amount does not matter. The amount matters only insofar as it is the thing that is distinguishing whether or not you can continue to broadcast. So if this people have this big overhead and they're saying, we're going to take this away and you won't be able to broadcast anymore, that's the thumb. If you have an AM radio station that costs $100,000 a year and they're saying, hey, we're going to take away $50,000 in funding, which is a fraction of billions, that's still a thumb on the scale to the exact same extent because you will not be able to broadcast anymore.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Obviously, Joe Rogan is perfectly capable of broadcasting from his little studio and, blah, blah, with his 4 days. Okay. If the government decided to give $1 billion to Joe Rogan, and then he happened to become way, way, way more rabidly pro-Trump than he already is, would you consider that a problem?
If the government gave $1 billion to him for no reason?
Yeah. Would you consider that a problem?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you, even though he's already of doing his show without the $1 billion subsidy, you still think it's a problem, right?
I would say if for no reason they were just going to give him a subsidy and it clearly influences message, that's a much different thing than these things existing prior to any other, first of all, we still haven't shown anything about the federal government having the intention of spreading AM radio right-wing propaganda or, FCC broadcast left-wing propaganda. They're just doing this as part of the structure of what the FCC does. But even if they were, this has nothing to do with the fact that now they're primarily more left-wing slanting than before when they were granting them the license. There is a $1 billion subsidy. That the $1 billion subsidy is a result. It used to be centrist and is no longer centrist. Is a different way of getting to the same. But it is the same outcome as the thing I'm describing. Right? No, we're so
insane.
far off from the
brother.
point.
You're cutting out so much.
Insane.
And Quibbles, we're so deep in this point, you again are making a bunch of arguments that the people that are making these decisions aren't even fucking making. If you were to say, hey, Donald Trump had this very nuanced point about the transformation of these 3 networks and how they've transformed more into these left-wing things, and that there's this federal mandate to make them do that, and that's why we need to maybe reevaluate these things, and not, hey, they're covering me negatively, and I think we should reevaluate their licenses.
Yeah,
it's we're so far off in the weeds in your ultimate good faith interpretation of what this fucking retard on a plane said.
Wait.
Breaking news.
God, did Will Smith slap Chris Rock at the Oscars?
This might play into the topic at hand. The former FBI director James Comey has just been indicted by the
by who?
The Department of Justice.
By the DOJ.
Oh God, for what? Investigating Trump?
Lying to Congress.
Right.
Yeah.
But when we talk about weaponizing, government organizations and entities in order to punish people for their opinions and speech.
Hold on, you supported Bannon. You supported Bannon being locked up.
Did I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did, buddy.
What did Bannon do? I don't even remember.
Bannon refused to testify in front of Congress.
Yeah, he was dodging subpoenas.
Yeah, but that's illegal. What did?
So is lying to Congress, buddy. When you're under oath.
What was the claimed lie?
I haven't read the whole thing, but I mean,
sure. Look, if James Comey did something that was illegal.
Yes, he did something illegal. Supposedly, that's what he's indicted for.
The reason that he wasn't indicted previously to this until Trump, fired the people who wouldn't bring the charges, right? Is because they didn't think they had enough evidence to convict him.
Well, I guess we'll find out if they do.
Well, so the deal is the real thing of it all is what is it? The limits, the time limits.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations was about to run out, and that's why supposedly Trump was pushing it so far. I think they had 3 or 4 days left before the statutes ran out. So.
And Wick, I don't know if you knew this, but James Comey had a high-capacity clipazine that said anti-Trump on it in ballpoint pens. So it's pretty clear.
Well, he also put out that Instagram of 8647. So I mean,
yeah, is that prosecutable?
Yes, any threat against president is.
Hold on, you think that him posting an Instagram
We're
post
doing this again.
with
8647
seashells or whatever rocks, I forget what it was.
It was seashells.
Saying 8647 that was a threat to the president of the United
It
States.
can be interpreted
That's,
as that.
that's
Yes.
incitement to violence. Yeah.
So
How is it not? I
because
want to hear
this
what you
was
say.
used
How is
by
it
the
not?
Trump administration, 46, right?
Let's.
Not the Trump administration, but
What
many
what does
Trumpian
86 mean?
influencers as
It
a
means
call
to
to
kill,
impeach
to
him.
kill
Yeah.
someone.
No, not to kill. To
That's what
impeach.
86 means.
8 miles
86
out,
means
6 feet
kill.
down, buddy.
Yeah, that's what 86 means. Anyone who says otherwise either is ignorant or
Okay,
bad faith.
well,
So
to
this
be-
is how
wait,
it's been
has
used
always
for
meant.
literal years.
Yeah,
And
wait,
again, because
Wick,
this isn't
we
a
had to
new
hold a
thing
panel on
that
this. Are we
people
going to
said.
relitigate
It's-
it? Like obviously, can we just we all live in reality and think if it literally could only be interpreted as kill, that maybe James Comey wouldn't be so fucking stupid as to post that, and maybe he had a different interpretation of what it meant?
I
Okay,
think
I
James
also-
Comey is that fucking stupid, brother.
But I
Okay.
mean, and honestly, in common parlance, it's like to get rid of, which, like he said, impeach. It's usually like take it away. Let's get rid of it. It does not mean kill. Just
Oh yeah,
I'm
you
looking
say
at
that
this,
after
this
two
Comey
assassination
thing.
attempts, and then you just post that, and you just mean get rid of him in a peaceful
mean-
way. Like, come on.
But they
I
did-
thought soy
look,
pill,
there was
I thought you
merch.
said we can't just look at the
8646
current
merch,
moment.
right? I could find 8646 T-shirts.
And I would
Again-
say that's
again,
nothing wrong.
Bumper
Y'all are
stickers.
saying that we can't just look at the current moment. We have to look at history. Trump was two attempted assassinations, and
That
then
doesn't change the meaning of the
that
term.
doesn't change what 86 means.
Yeah,
86
like saying
mean-
we need to get rid of Trump could reasonably be interpreted as I want someone to kill him, but that doesn't mean we, one, shouldn't say it post 2 assassination attempts, and 2 should like automatically interpret that as the worst possible interpretation.
Okay,
Now,
am
I don't know about the
wrong,
term
guys?
specifically though.
Hold on, I
Guys,
just
correct-
review
no.
real quick before you call conflicts. I'll give it to you that this is the dishonesty on the other side, in my opinion, right? Where they will. It's rules for thee, not for me, right? Where they can say it all the time, 8646, we need to get rid of Biden. They can have pictures of him hogtied on the back of their truck. And that's all just jokes. That's all just memes. No, we're not really serious. No, this isn't a threat. This is just us calling to impeach it and get rid of him through legal means. But as soon as Comey posts a fucking seashell picture, right? Suddenly, we know he must mean this. There is no
Wick,
other
come
possible
on.
interpretation
Wick,
or meaning. Now we
come
have
on.
to get him. Now
So
we
you're
have to call
comparing,
for
you're
his
comparing
arrest.
a
Now we have
random
to put him in
guy,
jail.
a random guy with a fucking bumper sticker or some shit. You're comparing that with James fucking Comey. I mean, again, the position
They
matters,
both have
right?
freedom of speech, baby.
But it's literally
That's
like-
America.
Yeah, but what did he say? Okay, for those who think James Comey meant something else, what was his defense? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering. He said, I had no idea what this meant. I just found these neat seashells. The guy is a retard, okay? He doesn't know what he's doing. Because why would he do that? He posts this and then he backpedals and says, oh, I didn't know. I just
So
found
look
these
at the
neat
level of
seashells on the
uncharitability
beach.
it always is when it's on site. Just the same way we were talking about what Kimmel said. You're like, no, we know he meant it was a guy on the right. And even like when Soy is giving you like, I could see how somebody may interpret it that way. Like we'll understand like how reasonable minds can disagree, but you're like, no, he said let's kill Trump.
No,
It's just
no,
like,
no, brother, that's not fair. I said the same thing. I said there's a small chance that you could take a literal interpretation, but my argument is that 90+% of people who heard what Kimmel said
No,
interpreted it the way that
just
I'm
bullshit.
saying.
I guarantee you it's like 50-50, and I guarantee you it splits exactly along partisan lines.
Yeah, to be clear, he didn't just say they're just
I do
seashells.
not
He said,
believe that.
Comey said, I didn't
Well, you'd
realize
be
some
wrong.
folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. Like, this is not, it wasn't like, oh, they're just seashells, I'm retarded. Like, he very clearly either, one, maybe he was dog whistling, it's very possible, I'll acknowledge that, but two, probably said, let's get rid of the guy who fired me for investigating him, I want to get rid of him, which is a completely reasonable thing for him to post. So,
Well,
You
so
think that was a
I'll be the
reasonable
most
thing for
charitable.
him to post?
I'll be the most charitable. Honestly, when it comes to this, I think he put it out as a little snarky deal. And when people started pointing out, hey, you're kind of threatening a president, he went, oh, yeah, I should probably take that down. So it was the most charitable thing I could say would be like a misspeak. It was, oh, I put this out and I didn't even think about the implications fully. And
which
like,
is what he said,
I think
and he
that's the best
deleted
thing.
it, and he could be lying,
Yeah.
but like,
he could be lying, but he is indicted for lying to Congress, which is a felony. We'll see how it pans
What was
out.
the lie that they're saying that he said?
He supposedly lied under oath like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, about what? My correct question.
I think it said, you mean like what he said exactly?
Well,
You're
no,
the one
what-
giving
like, what
us
is the
breaking news. You tell
accusation?
us.
Right. What is the accusation that
To be
they're
fair,
making?
to be
I
fair,
think we should
I
all
linked in
speak
this
very
story.
confidently on
It
this
was about
thing
the
that
Russian
Wick
Trump.
told us happened and we didn't know about before.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
well because this is something that they've been pushing for a while, right? Like there's certain elements
well,
within the Trump
there's a lot of people that are actually being pushed right now for indictment. Adam Schiff is going to be indicted for possibly leaking classified materials. Yeah, there's a
Letitia
whole slew
James.
of people
Wait.
that are
What do you wait?
about to
I
get
don't know
indicted.
why. I don't know why we're talking about Comey. Can we get back to the topic at
Well,
hand?
because it has to
Um,
do with freedom of
yeah.
speech as well. And
No, I get that. I get that.
Actually,
has
no, it
something to do
doesn't.
with freedom of speech.
Well,
It really
yeah,
doesn't,
no, I don't
because
think
lying to
if he committed
Congress is not freedom of
yeah,
speech.
if he perjured
Okay,
himself,
but I-
then that's
Yeah,
but
not
I don't
but
think
hold
it
on,
is.
but hold on, because the counter argument is that he didn't actually lie, and we know he didn't actually lie, but they're using this as a pretense because he's critical of the president and he
Well,
prosecuted
we need
him
to know
for
what the lie was, and none of us know what he's indicted
Well,
on. What did
it's
he
like the
perjure himself
campaign of
on?
retribution, right?
I know, but we'd have to know
I
specifics.
just don't
What,
feel like
what
I'm
was he?
comfortable,
What is he
like,
accused
That's
of being
fine. No,
Starting
we
off
don't
perjured
have
on?
to. We
about
don't
it.
have to
Like
focus
it's
on
the
this. We don't have to
Justice
focus on this
Department
because
is
again,
considering
I don't know what the
Okay.
statement is either. That he's
Soy, I have a question for you. Let's zoom out. You have granted
We're zooming out
that
so
there
much.
is a multi.
Yeah, we zoomed out so far.
I can't even
Yeah,
see
we-
the
we-
my eyes aren't
zoomed
this
out.
good. How much more are we zooming out?
We're
No.
incredibly zoomed out. That's why my face is like this. Okay. Okay.
using
There's
that
a
as the thumbnail from now on.
multi-billion-dollar annual subsidy
Mhm.
to progressive media in the context of ABC from the government. Do you think that there is an appropriate way to stop doing that?
Appropriate way to stop funding them because they're too partisan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for
Or to
example, the
make them
fact that
stop
they've
being
been
partisan.
trying to get back this fairness doctrine would be totally fine. If they're like, hey, we think this is too partisan, we might want to reintroduce this thing that was revoked decades ago, and we want to bring this back. That would be a totally fine way. And that is very... By the way, I don't think you're some like sycophantic Trump supporter. I think you are diving into the most good faith interpretation from one of the most bad faith people on the planet right now and saying,
Yeah,
well,
but
what
okay.
if this happened? Sure, there are good ways this could happen. But when the president is coming out and saying, I don't like how they're always saying bad things about me and I think they should have their licenses looked at, that is not what I think should be done, and is very clearly not some sort of thing about, well, it's gotten too progressive because of XYZ. Like, the fact that Brendan Carr wrote in Project 2025, this is a left-wing propaganda weaponized thing, and we need to use the FCC to crack down on them, is fucking insane. And the idea that this is like anything other than like a unilateral consolidation of power is just wild to me.
So I think there's two things going on here. One thing that's going on is just the same kind of mob boss bullshit that was happening in the context of Kamala Harris, Warren, and Tim Walz, and all of these who are desperate to try to, against Spotify and Joe Rogan, whoever the progressive, person is, right? And that's definitely part of that. Are you serious? Is it happening again?
Yeah, just
Yes,
be
it
louder.
was.
Yes,
No!
Wibbles. Next time before you come on, we're gonna make sure that this is.
You got to get it. You got to do.
Not okay.
Wick, at
This
some
is
point, can we
terrible.
talk about the arrest thing?
Which one?
Well, about
Oh,
how
yeah,
I
make
said
your
that
take.
people.
Yeah, just make your take.
Can I-
and I'm
can
sure
I do
that'll
my
spark
take?
discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, because I want to know who agrees with me or who doesn't, because I think that there are certain levels, this is a topic change, but certain levels of people that have been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death that probably would qualify as incitement to imminent lawless action. And I want to hear, I guess, all of you guys, especially the people on the left. And I want to read an example, and I want to know if you guys think this would qualify, because I'm not saying every celebration should qualify as arrest, but I want to read one. So I'm surprised that y'all didn't get rid of him sooner, and I'm surprised that you guys aren't getting rid of more people. Don't stop with him. Don't let him be the end. Get rid of them all. His wife deserves to go. Y'all keep talking about his wife and kids, but they need to go too, because they're carrying on that mentality and that lineage. Like, get rid of the whole family. I'm so sorry. Why'd you guys stop with him? To me, that meets all of the criteria
Jesus
defined under
Christ.
Brandenburg versus Ohio in 1969
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what
I think
qualifies.
that's
Do you
pretty
think
clear,
that is
Confluence. They're
illegal?
saying you should kill his family. That's fucking insane, dude. Like,
Okay,
what?
so do we all agree that is arrestable? Yeah.
But that's not even like
Pretty
celebrating his death. That's like, I think you should go do more murders.
More-
like, this is
yeah.
obviously
It's pretty
I
arrestable.
just, okay, I just
yeah.
want to make sure that's not like you guys. None of us think that's First Amendment protected.
To be clear, it is First Amendment protected. It's
What?
gross, but the First
No,
Amendment.
no, it isn't.
has to be-
No,
it's not. I
that's an
just
incitement
quoted
to
the
violence.
It's not
Brandenburg
imminent.
case.
It's not imminent, right? And it's
It
not
is
likely
imminent.
to incite the action.
How is it?
You
it's
should
both
go
imminent
kill
and
more
likely.
people. How is that not
Yeah,
inciting
go
the action?
kill
Okay,
his
so the
family.
Brandenburg
You should
case-
have wait.
Specific
Imminent.
target.
She
Because
said
you guys don't know,
you should have done it
apparently.
sooner
You know what the
too.
Brandenburg
Wait,
case
come
was decided
on.
on? Do you know what was said by the person that was being charged?
No.
Okay.
I
That's
just
why
know
you
what the
don't know. He was
I know
saying
what the
we
case
should go out
decided.
and kill all these people.
yeah, but she gave specifics. She said kill the wife and the kids.
Yeah, but there was no time. There's no there's not imminent. It just doesn't mean.
Oh, so she had to wait. So
Wick,
you think
come on.
that is only illegal if you say
does it have to have
like
I don't
on-
think.
on
I
September
know.
the 20th.
I know the law.
So you know, Wick, she had to say on September 29th we're
If
going to
Wick's
go
right
and
here, I'll
kill
be very
Erica Kirk,
surprised.
and otherwise it's totally
Jesus.
legal. You really
Kind
believe
of,
that?
yeah.
No, that's fucking retarded, brother.
It's just the law. If you
It's
have
not.
a problem
That's not
with
the
it,
law.
No.
That's not the law.
I don't know.
It has to be likely to insult imminent lawless action.
Action and is likely to
tweet
incite
or
or
an
produce
Instagram
such
post
action.
by a
No way. Is he
nobody
right?
Is not likely to do that.
I don't
do you
know.
think
I
that's
mean,
I don't know.
I
Wick.
saw some nobodies do some things.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
just-
know.
Started
It's-
stuff.
I don't
I
think
telling
it's
you the
about-
law. Okay,
It doesn't matter how.
I feel like even the
relevant
leftists
they
agree
are.
with me here, Wick. I
Okay,
feel
but
like you're.
Telling people to go kill his
I don't
family and it should have
understand,
happened
right?
sooner is
I mean,
legal.
it's
Hey,
imminent,
maybe
it's
I'm
likely.
wrong.
I mean, you post
That's
this, it gets
wild
a
to me
lot
if
of
that's legal.
retweets, it gets a lot of traction. People see this. People are calling for more violence. People are celebrating violence, and then someone is saying Erica Kirk needs to be taken out, which isn't the only person who said that, by the way. A lot of people have said that. That to me is imminent, likely, it has intent, it meets all three criteria.
But it doesn't meet the likely. It doesn't meet the likely. It doesn't mean.
How is it not likely? And do we have to wait till Erica Kirk is shot in the head for it to be likely?
Of course not, but it's not likely in that, like, if you were there at the time and he was going, or whoever posted it was there at the time and saying, hey, this person, you need to go, and there she is, take the shot, that qualifies, right?
Oh,
Saying-
come on.
saying
no.
this should have
People get
happened
charged for so
sooner,
much less.
And
Wick.
everyone
Hold
should
on,
go get
name
his
one.
family?
The freaking RuneScape guy that got like in jail for like 14 years. I can't remember his name. He made some vague threat about like school shooting. There was no actionable stuff. He was playing RuneScape. He made an off-color joke. He ended up in jail for like 14 years.
Let me see
For
this.
instance-
Look,
Guys, if
all
this
I
is
know is-
allowed,
No,
I
remember
am
this
gonna.
case? It was
my
like a
mind
huge
is
case.
A
blown.
guy
Yeah,
got put in
like a
jail
couple
for a
years ago.
freaking meme on Twitter. So I mean,
Yeah, like this is like this is not an uncommon thing for this charge to be levied against people.
Okay, let me look. Because I'm seeing a 6 years. Is that the guy?
It could be, yeah.
Okay.
And it was
so
literally
which
just he
changes you
said,
possibly misspoke on
he
the
said,
amount
like,
of time.
don't go to school
No, I'm
tomorrow
I
or
just want to
something.
make sure I got the right case, and maybe there was two, right?
And it wasn't
Normally-
actionable. It wasn't. There was no intent behind. He said it on RuneScape. It was obviously just like an
I'm
edgy
trying to
joke
see,
that shouldn't have been
what
said.
he said. Okay.
I just think it's funny. You were like, let's ask the left, and then you triggered the moderator card.
Oh no.
We were
Again,
like, yeah, that should probably
that
be illegal.
speech
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not
that-
illegal.
everyone's like,
It's
yeah, that's
gross,
probably
but You
bad.
can actually say it.
You can't. You in fact cannot wait.
Has she been arrested?
I think they're looking into her actually.
Okay. I'm trying to see what he said because I'm not seeing.
Yeah, this might be a hard thing to find.
Whatever. Continue with your talk.
Wick, if you're so
Lon.
sure, why don't you try it?
Sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
I was-
No.
I was honestly
Don't
gonna
do it,
say
Wick.
suggest
Don't do
that.
it.
Don't do it, don't do it.
Because there's also a thing-
Wait, stop.
Brandon, hold on. Brandenburg isn't the only case in question. You have the Watts test. Do you guys know what that is?
I'm not a legal guy.
So the Watts test came about because someone, right, at a political event said the first thing
This is
I'm
where
going to
Wick
do
started doing the
if they give me
Elon
a
Musk
gun
salute when he was
is shoot
defending
this
him.
guy. I think it was JFK or Nixon or someone. I think it was Nixon. The first thing I'm going to do if they give me the gun is shoot Nixon. Okay. He was again the case decided in his favor that did not count as incitement to violence.
No, Wick,
Even
Wick.
though he
Okay,
said,
Wick,
I'm
Wick,
going to
question.
get a gun. When they give me
Wick.
this gun, I'm going to shoot this particular
Wick,
person.
question. Because to me, that sounds like that would be a case of a true threat, and I feel like that's different than incitement to violence.
Okay,
because
it wasn't a true
but
threat.
he wasn't
because of the
prosecuted under
context in which
true
it was
threat.
said,
So
right?
No,
That's
I
the
know,
Watts
but I'm
test.
saying,
the
but I'm
people
saying,
who were listening to it, who the intended audience was, would they take that as a serious call?
Yeah, but from what you,
It was
I don't
decided
know
in the
this.
context
I
of that
don't.
case. It
I don't
was
know
not.
this. I don't know this case, Wick. But you're saying that the guy said.
Guys, to be clear, if someone's out there saying, oh yeah, that guy got killed, political violence, this should happen more, this should happen sooner, and this should happen to his family, how is that not an immediate call to violence, right? I see you, Devin.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
I think if that does fall in, I think I kind of
guess
see
I
Wick's
asked the
point a
leftists
little
on the
bit more
panel.
in that. With that in itself, I kind of see what he's saying. I think that makes that does change things a little bit, in my opinion.
Well, in
If
what
that's
way?
one of
You
the
don't
things-
think people? You don't think people would take that seriously?
Depending on the
You-
person, no. I don't, that's where did this person say this?
On TikTok or Instagram, I think. I have the video. I don't know if that helps, but I have the video. She's deleted the video. You know,
Is she-
I
because
don't
she
think
doesn't
Charlie
like
Kirk
it.
called for that kind
Was
of
she really
violence,
big
did he?
prior?
She's not huge, but I mean, it's hard to tell because now I'm looking at it and she's got a lot of attention now, but I don't know
Right.
if that attention stemmed from this post, you know, and I
But-
can't
but-
find the original because she deleted it.
Huge,
I do
huge is
think-
even a question. Like, what do you consider huge? Because, like,
Yeah,
some
I mean-
people would consider yourself as a huge creator. Other
yeah.
people may consider Soy Pill a huge creator. Some people may consider Wick. Y'all have different subcounts and everything else. And no one considers me a huge creator, which is amazing. But yeah, it's
If you don't call me huge, you're gonna give me body dysmorphia. I just got
Oh,
back
so
from the gym.
Pillal said he was going to acquire guns, Molotov cocktails, and pot bombs in order to reenact the Columbine school shooting at Oxford High School. So he had that's a little bit different.
No,
Did he
it's
have a
not
trench
different.
coat?
He did he not, Wick? I might be misremembering, but he didn't even like live anywhere close to there, right? So there's no actionable. I could be wrong
I
because
don't
I
know.
haven't looked at this case in a long time. But he was like states away, and he's saying it's gonna the next day he's gonna do this. It's absolutely not actionable. Like he didn't have a plane ticket. He didn't have Molotov cocktails. Like that's what they use when they're discerning a true threat. Do you have means? Do you have motive? Do you have the ability to carry it out? And this guy had none of it. He just like said stuff in a RuneScape chat log and ended up in jail for several years.
Since we didn't prep for this, Wick, can we all just agree that you shouldn't do that, even if it
Yeah,
may
it's
or may
bad.
not
It's
be
immoral
legal?
to do that.
bad
We all agree it's bad.
Friendly people's
Disavow. We all
Okay.
disavow.
Then we can all get back to disagreeing.
And he
Yeah.
also pled guilty to it. So I mean,
Well, yeah, because he knew he was fucked.
like I just totally just want to go to the bar and fucking vibe out, man. Fuck. Let's
but-
go.
let's get back to the topic at hand. Sorry, it's my fault. I got a little distracted. Do we think that the FCC, right, and Trump in general, the administration, is engaged in a threat to free speech currently in America? Why or why not? And we're going to start with logics this time. Go ahead.
I knew you was gonna do that. Yeah, I do. I do think that's what's happening right now. We've just seen too many instances of it, and Trump isn't even like scared to admit it. You know, he went on Truth Social and pretty much was like, "Yeah, well, let's just go after them since they brought Jimmy Kimmel back. Let's sue them and see how much money we can make from them." So it's I don't know why anybody is trying to cape for it instead of fighting for it. I mean, like even Ted Cruz and Candace Owens, God knows how much I hate her. Like it's just like a lot of people on the right are not standing for this as well. So it's just like,
Sorry, guys.
why even fight this? It doesn't benefit anybody. I don't know why anybody would fight to defend it in any way, shape, or form at this point.
Oh, and to be clear, they also found files on this guy's computer that they arrested for how to make bombs and also searches
Wick, stay on
about how to
topic.
go about killing.
Wait, stay on topic.
Bro, I too have the
Yeah,
anarchist
Wick.
cookbook. Moving
Yeah,
on.
we all have the anarchist cookbook. Wick.
Okay, it's different, but go ahead, Jason, Aircraft Sparky. please.
All right. Is what's going on in the administration an existential threat to the First Amendment? Existential, no. Crop dusting some kind of authoritative vibes that I'm not actually cool with. Yes. But it's no different
fix 'em, chat.
than when Joe Biden talked about what an extremist I was because I am a Gen Sixer. It's no different. Oh yeah, yeah.
Wait, you were
It-
there?
You were there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
All
was.
right.
Were you pardoned?
I was there. I was there filming retards, man.
Were you inside of the
No, I did not go
Capitol?
inside the Capitol. When I saw them go in, I'm like, nope, not going that far.
He's,
I did hear
we
the
can
shot
save
that
him,
killed
chat.
Ashton
We can
Babbitt.
save him. He's savable.
But no, I was there. Look, it's
Never thought I'd meet one in the wild.
Yeah, wow.
no, dude,
This is
dude,
an
no.
honor.
We're fun people, most of us. There's some weirdos out there. Don't get me wrong, but there's I think this has been a trend that has been going on through multiple administrations, where they have used the power of government to do a chilling effect, to stifle speech, things
Has it
like
been
that.
because I don't like criticisms of me?
I don't know the motivations of every administrative action that's happened, but I do know that for the past like 20 years, we have seen the weaponization of government against the people over speech. Trump is a little bit more out in the open about it, but we can actually point to incidences, at least from Clinton all the way to present, where this has happened. I can't really say anything about Bush Senior or Reagan because I don't remember enough about that. I was too young to care. But yeah, I joined the military under Clinton, for Christ's sake. So I'm the oldest guy here. Wick's probably the closest to me in age. But you know, I remember things, and I remember it in every administration going, that's getting a little close, you know. So it's more in your face with Trump because Trump's a bombastic
I think
jackass.
that's right. I think that's right. I just think that there's two conversations that we need to be able to parse out, and I don't know how much of this I'm repeating and how much of this I'm saying for the first time that is hearable given my mic quality. But like, it is different to be talking about the mafioso bullshit that both parties are guilty of and massive subsidies to the tune of billions of dollars. And so if we're going to deal with these massive subsidies problem, there has to be some like process of recognizing, one, there is this massive subsidy, and therefore, two, we need to end the subsidy, and therefore, three, either ABC, these companies need to become no longer partisan, or they need to become no longer subsidized. Right?
Hey, before anyone else goes, can I push back on this real quick?
Yeah, please go for it.
Please, I would like to keep these going, because the reason why, because we're trying to keep
He's so polite. The reason he didn't go into the
powerhouse
building
of the United
is because
States
he kept waving people in front of him.
What I would like to see is I would
He's like, oh no, you first. You first
something
into the
going
Capitol.
more towards a what's his name, Lenny? Who was before? Who was before? Jimmy, not Jimmy Carter. Frick. I'm trying to think of the old late night host. You didn't know their politics. Like, I don't mind, dude. Take shots at the right all day long, please. Okay, some people deserve it. Have you seen Eddie Munster? I mean, Ted Cruz. For Christ's sakes, there's some cringe,
so Jason
cringe politics on both sides. But the deal is, I would like to see where we don't really know the personal politics of these hosts that are on broadcast air.
Are you talking about Letterman?
So Jason's answer is like,
yeah, Jay Leno, and before him,
Letterman.
Yeah. Okay, Johnny so Jason Carson wants to get them to be
Johnny Carson. Yeah.
Jason wants ABC to be filled with bland centrists. What do other people want?
They were not bland, dude.
Fine, they don't have to be bland, but they have to be centrist, and we can never know their political opinions. Do other people want that, or do we just not want to be subsidizing them to the tune of billions of dollars?
I'm fine. I'm fine with them being partisan and subsidizing them. I don't have a problem with
this. I'd take either.
I don't care about the subsidy.
Yeah.
Okay, Soy, what do you want?
I think the way it's set up now, where we have these licenses and you're calling it, propaganda, when I'm saying, hey, like, it seems like the government is giving funding to people that may or may not ask for it, for the ability to broadcast, and whether or not you like their political opinions shouldn't really have an effect on whether or not you give them those subsidies, is how it should
I'm
be.
paying their salary.
Okay.
I don't give a shit what's happening on Newsmax because I'm not paying the Newsmax salary.
You subsidize. Now we're back to this. You subsidize so many things you probably don't agree with, and you can say, I don't want to subsidize those things. But
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying there are lots of things that I pay for with my government tax dollars, and I'd rather not do that. One of the things I think is very reasonable is I don't want to be doing partisan propaganda for one side or the other. That seems like a bad thing.
But that's not what they're paying for. Now, if you're saying, like for example, if you say, I don't like that my money goes to NPR because NPR has a very left-wing slant, you could be upset about that. But like, what is your proposed solution to national public radio and how it's funded?
To not be giving billions of dollars to Disney, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, in order to get them to give clearly biased propaganda.
Do you know why we give them billions of dollars?
Let's just not give them.
His implication is the reason we give them billions of dollars is to spread left-wing propaganda, and not give them billions of dollars.
That's the reason. The usage of that money is propagandistic, directly.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the result, right?
I mean, becoming the cultural
Yeah,
hegemonic
the result
leader
is
of the
it's not
world
working. I mean,
is
the
kind of a
right side of
big
the
thing.
Republican
Wait, how,
Party
wait,
runs everything.
logics.
Listen,
Wait,
we're not-
logics. How is it
we're
not
not
working?
hegemons
How is
The
it not
Republican
working?
Party runs everything right now.
I know,
mean,
but you don't think the media is like succeeding in its like left wing endeavors, like for
It
real?
didn't win them the
It's-
election. Although
it's-
the complaint from the Trump admin is,
No, they
look,
tried so
what we
hard.
first of
Wait,
all,
you
the
don't
complaint that
judge
they filed
corruption
legally
based on
said
whether-
this was the greatest like victory and achievement of all humankind, despite the media's bias against me, and that's why we have to go after you, or some crazy shit like that. But the idea that it's like, well,
You
this is the
don't
thing that's
judge-
like, what?
Well, so Reagan
It's
went
still
up against the
corruption,
same.
whether or not you succeed in your goals.
It's corruption?
Yes,
Reagan went
to give
against the same
billions of
media
subsidies,
slant
dollars of
and still got a
subsidies.
49 state.
To
what
give
is it,
a
49 or
billion-
48
Wait,
state
no,
landslide?
Quibbles.
One
Quibbles,
party-
if the current Trump admin is giving billions of dollars and they're still against him, how is it corruption?
It's
By the way-
corruption because he's seeking to stop it, and people like
Well-
you are seeking to stop them from stopping it. They're giving
No,
billions
where's the
of dollars,
corruption
and you're
coming
trying to
from?
say, no, they can't stop
Hold on.
giving the billions of dollars in
Hold on.
subsidies to a clearly
I-
biased network.
You're really pulling the trigger too quick here, and I'll explain to you why. We haven't passed a budget in over 10 years, okay? We've been going off of CRs for that fucking long, okay? There has not been a budget in 10 fucking years. So the spending that happened last year is the same spending that happened 9 years ago, okay? So you've got to understand, no one has passed a fucking budget. So what you're bitching about is something that's over a decade-long problem because Congress doesn't do their fucking job. So if you want that, if
Sure.
you want that change to happen, you need to actually contact your congressman and say, look, don't vote yes on the next CR. Let the government shut down and force them to do their fucking job. Did I just stun lock him?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Facts
I'm
and
not
logic,
sure.
shit.
Yeah.
Unlocked, okay.
If you don't talk for a second, you've been stun locked.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a very bad day if we give the government the ability to decide who to fund and who to not fund based on their political.
Let's not fund any of them.
Huh?
Let's not fund any of them. You're not funded by the government. That's good.
Do you think
Let's
okay?
continue to
Hold on.
not
Let me
have
ask
the
you a
government
question.
fund
Hold
you.
on. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it would be appropriate for, let's say Biden was president and the Biden administration decided, we have a bunch of government funds, right, that we're going to give to companies, but we're only going to give it to companies that haven't promoted Trump. Do you think that'd be appropriate?
That would be bad.
That would be bad, yes. So when you have Trump and they only want to give funding, right, to companies
I'm sorry. Let's just
who
clarify.
don't
You're
promote the
talking
left.
about you're talking about like electrical companies, right? You're talking about like
Any kind of
they have a
business,
nuclear
any
power
kind of
plant.
He
business
said
at all.
companies, bro. So
Again, there's a difference in kind between the Home Depot worker and the guy who works for the Daily Wire, right? There's a difference between the guy who owns the electric company has some bias versus the guy who owns the media company has a bias and his entire job is media.
You're not going to find someone who owns a media company that doesn't have a bias.
Okay, so then let's not subsidize media companies. In
Yeah,
that way.
I feel like
By
that
the
doesn't
way,
go
wait,
back to his
that's not
point.
true.
I can't believe-
because historically, ABC was
but it's-
pretty down the
hold on,
middle.
hold on,
As he's
but they are
saying, Jay
receiving-
Leno,
hold on, just real
Jay
quick,
Leno
the
thought.
difference is-
I think Jay Leno's really
The
boring.
difference
Yeah.
is they've been receiving this funding since the 40s.
I don't
And
even know
because
to what extent
now,
they're actually funded.
not 10 years ago,
or
not 20 years ago,
subsidized.
but now, because they're going against the current administration, this administration wants to cut off their funding. That is a direct violation of their freedom of speech.
Well,
But
wait.
they've also-
I
they've
need
gotten
to
more
ask.
partisan,
Wait. We need to interrupt this because one, we're talking
hold
about
on. No,
the
no,
licensing
no,
for
I just have to
broadcasting.
address
But second of all,
directly.
wait,
We need to
no,
address directly.
Quibbles.
We have to zoom out.
Do they even
don't
get
zoom
does
in, we need to
ABC and
zoom
NBC
in.
even actually get subsidized by the
Zoom in.
FCC?
What you just said is crazy. What
Wait,
you
wait,
just said
Quibbles,
is absolutely insane.
Quibbles,
No,
Quibbles. I'm interrupting you because I
Okay.
think you
If
might
an
have a misconception
airplane
about how the
company-
FCC works. Do they even
no.
actually
If
give
an
money to any of
airplane
these
company-
broadcasting
If
stations?
an airplane company for
Quibbles,
50
can you answer me
years,
that,
an airplane
please?
company. No, I'm not answering anything until
Well,
I
because
answer
you've been
Rick.
arguing with this for like an hour, and I
Thank
don't
you.
even know if they
Why don't you
actually
be silent?
subsidize these
I'm
people.
answering Rick.
Yeah, because I don't
Okay,
think you understand
okay.
how it works.
If the government, no, you have to be silent. If the government has for 50 years a long-term relationship with an airplane production company, and that airplane production company all of a sudden starts making shitty airplanes or airplanes that are intended to fall out of the sky, and then the government says, hey, we liked your airplanes back when they were good airplanes, but now they suck, so we're going to not give you billions of dollars
No, I know
of money
PBS and
to
NPR
get
are
these
publicly
airplanes
funded,
because they're
guys.
shitty airplanes.
I don't think
That's
ABC
totally
is actually
reasonable.
subsidizing
If
Yes,
ABC
the
for
difference.
50
Do you know
years
the difference?
was a
Hold on.
centrist
Which
normal
Bill
thing.
Thank you,
of Rights?
Cosmo.
Which in the Bill of Rights? Which amendment
Cosmo.
protects
Quibbles get a better
airplanes
mic.
companies
Oh, he tried. Don't worry.
manufacturing?
There is
None. And
There
also
isn't.
none
Which
gives you
amendment
there's no
protects a company's
guarantee of free
speech?
speech as meaning
There's
that
no
Quibbles.
you
amendment
get
that
billions
protects
of
the
dollars.
FCC violations,
You're
Wick.
Quibbles?
guaranteed
Hold on.
billions of dollars
The
from the government
amendment
in
of
order
the
to
first
get
Wait,
amendment
please,
it overrules any
Wick,
FCC laws.
Wick, does
free
the FCC?
speech
Wait,
doesn't
Quibbles,
mean that
Quibbles,
you
That's
get
not
paid
true.
billions
Quibbles.
of dollars for.
Hold on, that is absolutely true.
That is not true.
guys,
Oh, you think the
stop.
FCC can
Wait, you guys,
violate
does the
laws?
FCC
Wick,
even
the thing I
subsidize
quoted to
ABC?
you-
Does
my
it even
God.
do that?
Quoted to you,
Could you
Wick,
show me that?
shows that it goes against the First Amendment. The thing I quoted, the thing you agreed on, that would be First Amendment speech. You could lie, and it could cause public harm. That would be First Amendment protected speech. That's
We need
still
the horse
an FCC
videos, guys.
violation. So no,
That's
the
never
First
been
Amendment does
enforced
not.
in
Wick,
decades.
Wick,
It's been
can I ask a
enforced
question?
a
Please,
lot.
Wick,
It
Hold
has
on,
been
name one
enforced.
time
It's
this
on the
book
books.
wasn't
Wicks,
enforced.
please.
Let Soy
Wick,
talk.
does the FCC even subsidize these people, or is that just something you pulled out of your ass? Because I just believed you. I don't even think they give
The
them any
FCC
money.
doesn't subsidize the American,
Yes,
American
the
taxpayer.
FCC isn't directly subsidizing. What it is that
No,
there's
Congress
these
apportions
airways-
money to subsidize them.
No,
What's the difference?
it's not a direct subsidy. I'm
Yeah,
saying
they have
subsidy is a
control over
shorthand
the
that's
public
slightly
airways, and they
sloppy.
lease that out.
I'm
That's
saying-
not a
yeah,
subsidy.
I'm saying subsidy is slightly as a shorthand. It's a little bit sloppy. You're
Holy
correct.
shit, I can't
What
believe I let you
what-
get away with that for 2 fucking hours. They don't even
let
give the
me-
money, you
Let
stupid
me
retard.
explain what I mean. Okay, let me
Fuck
explain what
that.
I mean. Like,
Holy
explain
shit,
it.
I
Give me
can't
a
believe
employee
I just
discount.
assumed you were being good faith.
I'm
You don't
going
even know
to
what the fuck
explain
you're
it to you.
talking about, dude.
I'm going to use my simple words and my simple speech.
No,
and I'm
I don't
going
want to
to
let you talk. You've been
That word
lying for
means
2
something.
hours. They don't
That
even
word literally
fucking
means something.
subsidize them.
Here's what I mean when I mean that it's a subsidy.
Yeah, they lease out the broadcasting
Okay.
airways, which I knew about the whole time. I
They
thought that they
lease
gave
it.
them
Yes.
$15 billion.
They lease
They don't
it
even
out.
fucking do that. You've just been wrong this whole time.
You're
Like the
okay.
other 6
You're gonna be
things
okay.
you didn't
You're
fucking
gonna be okay.
understand, and I've been good faith to you, and you're like, well, shut up, wait, let me explain this
You're
thing
gonna
I
be
don't even
okay.
fucking understand. For 2 hours.
Be okay.
You wasted my time.
Okay. When I say
I like it.
subsidy, what I mean is that the lease is
Oh.
at below market rate. So market rate, the concept of market rate.
There's no
is
market
that
rate
this
for
is
public
getting- this is getting-
airwaves.
There
It's
is,
owned by the
if
government. You
if
stupid fucking
yes,
moron.
There is such thing. There is such thing as market rate. I will explain. You'll be okay. Okay. Market rate would be if you allowed anyone who wants to bid on it, and then the person who
don't
bids on it and has the highest bid gets it. Right? That would be market rate. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is a subsidy in kind, which is what I've been saying. And a subsidy in kind is where you have a set price, which is below the market rate. And so the amount of money that is different between the price that ABC is paying and the market rate, that is a subsidy. Okay?
There is no
We
market
call that a
rate. There is
subsidy
no
if
market
we're
rate
not
for a
for.
public broadcasting
There we go.
airwave with
Here's the
a
problem.
zero
Here's the
amount, a
problem.
net.
This
No,
market
there
rate-
is
So-
a
so
zero
those rates
amount of.
are
You
muted.
can't
You're
give it
muted
to
because
everyone.
of-
They
No,
have.
No, Soy's talked to his audience.
So he's talking
No,
about
okay,
market
excuse me.
rate.
I was trying to yell at Quibbles for being a retard. Okay, you understand that the
No, no, no.
public
Yeah,
broadcasting
no.
bandwidth is a like zero-sum game. You cannot let everyone have access to it. You
Oh,
have to have the
but you
government
can have-
lease it
okay.
out. There is no market rate. They're
Rick, let's talk
selling
about a
licensing to
house.
people. They don't fucking
Okay,
subsidize them
yes,
with
I get it,
billions
I
of
get it.
dollars so
Let's
that they
talk
can
about a
spread
house.
propaganda. You stupid fucking
Yes,
dipshit.
let's talk
You have
about
no
a
idea what you're
house.
talking about, and I let you get away with it
Rick,
because I thought
Rick,
maybe you had a
let's talk about
modicum of
house.
understanding. I didn't even bother to
Let's talk
Google
about
it.
a house. Okay, there's a house for sale, Wick. Okay, there's 2 ways that I can make this house for sale. Are you ready? One is I put it on Zillow, and anyone who wants to buy the house can buy the house. That's one way to buy the house. The other way to buy the house is I call up my cousin who needs a house, and I say, hey, bud, you want to buy this multi-million-dollar mansion, and this multi-million-dollar mansion, I'm going to make you pay $50,000 for it because, you know, you've fallen on hard times and I'm fucking loaded, right? And I say this, and then he says, yes, actually, I will buy your house for $50,000. Click, right? Do you think that that is the same as buying it from Zillow? Or do you think there might be a subsidy going on there?
Do you think that any private company can sell public airwaves that are owned by the government?
They are owned by the government. I think that you could allow to have a public, right, bidding war on them, and then they would be the value of the airwaves. When there's not a public bidding war on the airwaves, you are getting a subsidy.
Okay,
What is
so
the value of an airwave?
In the case of ABC and
What frequency?
CBS, a lot.
name the
Why? A
frequency,
lot.
or I'm not
Wait,
listening.
a lot?
Why? Because there's a long history.
You said what's the value?
Yeah.
You said a lot.
A lot. We don't know the exact number. The reason we don't know the exact number is because there hasn't been a
It could be less than what the FCC or not.
No,
FCC,
it's not less. If
less
it was
what
less,
ABC is paying
then
for.
Disney wouldn't be willing to pay what they're paying. So obviously it's worth more. We just don't know exactly how much more. Considerably
a dollar more?
You know how we know it's just
Could be
I'm
50
sorry?
cents more.
No, it's more than 50 cents more. It's considerably more than 50 cents. We know that it's more than 50 cents because we can see the comparative number of viewership of those three channels specifically versus identical content on other channels. So clearly those channels are worth considerably more, right?
Okay, let's compare Fox News viewership to Jimmy Kimmel's
upset.
viewership in the same time slot.
I actually thought
gets
that they were
more?
giving billions of
You can't
dollars
do
to help
that.
these
You
people
got to do
out,
the
like
aggregate
NPR.
of the two networks
Holy
at
shit.
large. And you got to do specific, and also you're specifically choosing the highest rating of all
Disney,
cable
for
networks.
example. Disney, for example, owns
Sorry?
a whole lot of services other than
Yes, and cable, they can do whatever the fuck they want with cable. There's nothing that they're doing. They're
Okay,
not getting
but
a
what I'm
massive
asking
subsidy
you is, who do
in
you
terms of
think gets more
cable or in terms
viewership?
of Disney Plus. I'm sorry.
ABC or Fox News?
You're asking the highest rated of all cable networks versus ABC.
Well, you're the one that's saying we got to look at the viewership to see how much it's
Okay,
worth.
wait,
So it's worth less
I'm sorry.
than.
Wait, do you think that it is a benefit to be on
Premium
Fox News?
Huh?
Do you think it is a benefit to be on Fox News?
Well, it depends on how you're featured.
Oh,
I don't think it was a benefit.
Do you think
Destiny
that having
to be
do you
featured
think that
on Fox
having
News
like a
because they
prime
didn't-
time slot to do your show is a benefit to be on Fox News?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Wait, hold up. That's crazy. Because we can look at Spotify, we can look at Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan gets more viewership. So even though Joe Rogan gets more viewership, we can recognize that clearly what you just said is totally reasonable and valid because the same content on Fox News is going to do better than the same content not on Fox News, even if Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan are doing really well.
Disney pays approximately
Being on
$4
YouTube
million
is not as
in
good.
licensing.
A year or
I'm sorry.
So for every year, it's about $4 billion in licensing.
That's a lot of money. I
That
don't
is a
think
lot of money.
I think that they could honestly probably.
I'm getting dinner
make
after this,
more
guys. I'm
money,
so excited.
Right?
Of course,
Just go on streaming
They
services
actually
and cable
charge.
networks.
So with
excited to eat.
all the distribution
I'm gonna meet with
and
some left
everything else,
wingers. I'm not
they
gonna
end
yell
up
at
netting
anyone.
like a $4 billion profit
I'm
with
so
the
mad.
licensing and stuff for the content that they sell to other services and shit like that. So
Okay,
but,
gang,
yeah,
this has been 2 hours. Let's get to closing statements and closing thoughts. Let's start with Quibbles, and we'll end with Soy Pill because I like that dynamic. Okay, Quibbles, closing thoughts. Tell
Because I
me where they
like
can
that
find you.
Okay.
Just you're keeping
My
us as
closing
separate as
statements.
possible, is what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I have to have like a giant barrier between exactly. Okay. My closing statement is this. Mob boss shit has been a thing on the left and a thing on the right for a long time. It's a problem. I don't like it. 2, subsidies are a thing only for the left these days, and that's a big problem. And to get rid of the subsidies, okay, you need to either get billions of dollars that are currently owned by Disney, getting this giant subsidy. It's going to fuck over Disney somewhat, and Disney's going to complain, and the hosts on Disney are going to complain. But it's not actually a speech issue. There are parts that are speech issues. Certainly, all the shit that is being said about like, oh, let's just like, bleh, like yes, there is all of that is real. But also part of it is not real. part of it is molding from people who have been experiencing billions of dollars of subsidies for decades and do not deserve them any longer. I rest my case. Yes.
Confluence.
Yeah, I think we got into the weeds with Kimmel for like the majority of the time, which is fine. Wick was asking everybody. I didn't get a chance to say this. I do actually, maybe to the shock of the panel, I do think Trump actually does say stuff that is a threat against free speech. I mean, I think his Truth Social post about that even the Constitution can be overruled, I think was incredibly concerning. But I think the FCC is a regulatory body, and if the FCC is going to investigate,
stick around
they're
after.
going to investigate,
We'll
and I
talk
think
to
that's
you
fine.
guys for about half an
I think
hour.
people should absolutely be fired
Then I'm gonna get the
for
fuck outta
their
here.
celebration of Charlie Kirk's death, which I think was our
And just
original
calm down
topic.
and not think about politics.
I don't see this as cancel culture. I think it is far beyond the
'Cause that-
Overton
I think that
window,
is
and I
the
wish we
most
kind of
mad
talked
I've
about
been
that
on a
more.
panel.
But yeah, that's my stance. I think people should
The
face
smug, stupid
consequences for what
combination
they
really
did.
pisses me off.
Kimmel, what he did was
I grant so
relatively
much
mild,
charity
and
to
that's why I
these
think we got
people.
into the weeds on like the FCC and the
And I'm
regulatory
so
stuff. But I think
uninformed on
for
such
the
a great
other
many
people who are
topics.
celebrating it,
And I
I
take
think
their
we
word,
should
and then I
collate
Google
lists,
it.
and we should absolutely do
And
a
they're
mob,
just
and we
fucking
should go
wrong.
after them because I think they have left
thank you for saying
far
last
left
name.
the Overton window, and there
This
needs
is-
to be
this is concerning.
repercussions.
Mob
Inshallah.
justice. Famously without problems and famously solving the issues of the day.
Exactly.
Aircraft Sparky, go ahead.
I love pitchforks and torches. I think they're based in fun, but in all reality, um, the people celebrating the national tragedy of political assassination. I don't care who's killed. That should have some type of consequences at a social level. Losing a job, things like that. I don't see people should be arrested for it necessarily, unless they're actually trying to incite violence or they're actually pulling a trigger or something like that. Um, when it comes to the whole Kimmel thing, I'm unconvinced that the government has actually caused him to lose 3 days of broadcasting. I believe it was more of the affiliates and the advertisers. I see no evidence showing besides the things Trump said, which look, I'll sit there and go, yeah, Orange Man bad there. Sure, you shouldn't be saying that's kind of fucking stupid. But it's also something that we've been seeing escalating throughout the years, throughout my entire life. The federal government does not believe that you have freedom of speech. Actually, most Americans don't believe you have freedom of speech because we used to have blasphemy laws. We used to have all kinds of insane laws on speech. But I would like to see, more protections of speech for the people. But I just don't see it, especially in our hyper partisan divided politics. Wish we could come together, be a little bit more moderate, and be a little bit more agreeable. Thank you to all my panelists, especially Soy Pill and Logics. Actually, the calm people, normally the lefties like to spurg. Bro, Quibbles, my man, take a pill.
Are you calling me calm on this panel, dude? That was the most mad I think I've ever fucking got.
Comparatively speaking, brother, you were quite calm. Quibbles needs to take his blood pressure. I think he's about to pop an aneurysm. Poor guy.
Well, thank you for being here. Illogics, please.
Once again, thank you, Wick. This was fun. I feel like we missed a lot of time, about an hour arguing about something that really wasn't a thing. So that's a little disappointing, but nonetheless, I think everybody came with a perspective that was fun to engage with. Again, I think that once we're at the point that we allow the president to dictate what the FCC does to then dictate what these companies can say on television, I think we have a problem, and any way to try to skirt around that is a problem, especially if it's not in regards to the public health. People want to keep saying, oh, this is what happened with Facebook and whatnot, when this is just simply about, I don't like you, so shut up. I think that we should all be on one page about that. It's nothing American about it. It's nothing defensible about it, no matter who the president is, no matter where you fall politically. In regards to firings for Charlie Kirk jokes and whatnot, I do understand that jobs can fire you for whatever reason that they can. That's legal. If you do put yourself out there, you are susceptible to to being fired. But I don't know why people will form hate mobs. You know, we had people make an entire website dedicated with doxing people to get them fired over Charlie Kirk jokes. And I think that's reprehensible behavior. It's not that serious. If you know somebody on there and you don't like them, just handle it on your own. Just doxing people is absurd. So if you defend any of these things, I think it's highly un-American.
Okay, thank you for being here. Last but not least, and we're not ending. I got super chats to read. They can stay if they like, and maybe we'll do call-ins. I don't know, but they can leave after this if they need. Soy Pill, give us your quote.
Yeah, obviously the main topic of the panel of whether or not like you should, dox people. I don't agree with this. I don't think people should, but if your employer finds out you said some really heinous shit, as much as I don't agree with like forming these hate mobs, at that point you might want to consider that, yeah, what you put online might come into your workplace and they're going to fire you. But the more important thing is that Donald Trump is threatening to revoke licenses because people are being mean to him. I think that's fucking insane. This is clearly laid out in Project 2025. I think everyone needs to be sounding the alarm bells. Quibbles, I don't know why you're saying that subsidies are only for the left. We talked about AM radio, the fact that you misrepresented what even is a subsidy because we are looking at the zero-sum game of a publicly owned airwave and saying, hey, here's a license to be able to broadcast on it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Trump administration is not, saying, oh, I think this is, skewed one way or the other, is literally threatening to take away the ability to broadcast because he doesn't like what they're saying. This is a very scary fucking crackdown. And even if it was just because of a government subsidy like NPR, which was government funded, it's fine. They're objectively describing what the fuck is happening and maybe slant a little left, but that's because reality has left-wing bias. Sorry, guys. So if you don't want to, get criticized and talked about, maybe stop being a fucking fascist piece of shit. Thanks for being here, everyone. I had a great time.
Thank you.
Great.
I hope you all enjoyed it. $5. $5 from Moto to say, ask all of them if they think Tucker Carlson should have been pulled from the air for the exact justification they're defending the attack on Kimmel.
That's Tucker Carlson was pulled off the air because he lied about the election and they improved his intent to lie with text messages where he said, I know this is bullshit, but I'm still going to say it, and spread and it helped incite a fucking mob, which Jason here took part of, but luckily didn't go in because he actually was very kind in this debate. I can only assume because he just kept waving people in and was like, no, you first, and he just never had time to get in. So thank you, Jason, for not participating in that. You didn't need a pardon. But that is so much different than taking the worst possible interpretation of Jimmy Kimmel's statement, which is, like I said, possible that he was like lying and misrepresenting it, but also that he was just like doing what was objectively true, which is saying MAGA is trying to push this on everyone that's not them, which is what they did before they had any information. Although, to be fair, like why would a MAGA person shoot Charlie Kirk? So
I do think what Tucker did was worse than what Kimmel did by a long shot.
$20.
It also cost them $700 million or something. It was like a crazy, huge lawsuit.
Yeah, and it also wasn't.
Like, yeah, if you cost your company,
they had every right to fire
civil
Tucker.
suit, to be clear.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
$20 from the pleb to say, ask the right panelists why they keep ignoring the fact that if this is only about what Kimmel said, that Trump is now saying he just doesn't like Kimmel because he says mean things about God King Trump.
Or the fact that he said Kimmel's next 2 months ago.
Yeah, I would say, I said this in my closing. I think Trump says a lot of stuff that's anti-free speech. I mean, I'll own that as someone on the right. Like, I think Trump is a wild card.
So
And he says concerning things.
If Carr says we got Kimmel fired, and Trump says we got Kimmel fired, why are you fighting me that they got Kimmel fired?
The difference is that I think, first of all, the syndicates I think is a huge role on why Kimmel was temporarily removed.
You're not answering my question. I'm just going to ask you again. If
he
Trump
actually
says,
is answering, you just don't like it.
Carr
yeah,
said
how is I
we
not
got
answering
fired,
your fucking question?
Then why are we trying to pretend that they didn't get Kimmel fired?
I feel
they did.
Brother, I feel like I was answering your question. I don't think he was fired temporarily for a couple days because of the FCC thing. I think possibly it has to do with the syndicates. I think you could acknowledge that. I mean, there's a lot of pressure internally from ABC to let him go. I think the FCC did put pressure on him, but again, I would say that's an FCC violation. That's an FCC issue that they were within their rights to look into and to tell ABC that they're going to look into. The Trump stuff is a separate thing. So, why can't I do that?
Because there was no actual
doing it
violation.
Right now, brother.
And it was obvious there was no violation.
That's not. I quoted the violation to you.
No, you quoted it, and you didn't.
We can disagree on that.
Substantiate public harm as defined in the
You Wick, and this is maybe you know something I don't. You define public harm as causing like damage to property and stuff. Well, I don't know
in
if
the
that's
rule.
something...
Hold on, let me bring it up because I
Okay,
think
yeah,
you
let
need
me
it.
see
Like
it.
it says after the 3 things it lists, it says in the context of this what we mean by public harm, and it gives a definition of what they mean by public harm, and that's the definition I'm giving you.
I guess I would love to see that. I haven't seen that. I'm being good faith here. I haven't seen.
I know because you guys all look at these Twitter posts and you don't look at the actual source.
I went to the FCC fucking website, Wick. Don't fucking sell me short like that, brother. I went to their fucking website.
Confluence, I think the point here is that you might even, let's just say this was explicit. Let's say Jimmy Kimmel said, this guy was MAGA. It was like he just lied, right? And the FCC came after him for that. I think what you're kind of missing, this is let me borrow from Quibbles here. We need to zoom out a little bit. The fact that 8 to 12 months ago, Brendan Carr wrote, I am going to do this, and essentially lay out, I'm going to do what I can to coerce these people to be less of what they are in Project 2025.
I know.
Kind of means that like he's going to seize and take anything.
Let me respond. Let me respond to
Has that not been what Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and a bunch of people
I don't think these things are even remotely comparable. No.
Have they not been saying identical shit?
No, but okay, Soy Pill. I guess
my contention. They're going to break up Facebook for precisely the issues of Facebook speech.
I think what I understand your point that maybe there's like a motivation going on, but I guess my concern is it an FCC violation or is it not? He could be ideologically captured. To me, that means nothing. I want to know, is it an FCC violation?
We can clear this up. Click on my stream right now. I have it up. This is from FCC.gov, pretty official source, right? On broadcasting false information. Okay. The FCC, and the highlighted portion is the relevant portion. FCC rules specifically say that the public harm must begin immediately and cause direct and actual
popular
damage
radio shows,
to property
90s,
or to the health or safety of the general public, or it has to divert law enforcement to other
Rick,
public health.
To be clear, not what you fucking said.
Yeah, that is exactly verbatim what I said.
You said property damage. You said, show me the property damage.
Yes.
The safety, I think it has caused the safety of the general
public. All of that.
A bunch of people have like canceled events. A bunch of people are worried about their lives.
It has to begin immediately. Who got hurt?
It says safety.
Okay, who got hurt?
It doesn't say someone has to be hurt. It says, does it cause direct and actual damage to the safety? And yes, it has damaged the safety of people on the right.
Wow.
It doesn't say it has to result in the death of someone.
This is the most bad faith reading of this thing.
Like,
how is that bad faith?
Well, whose safety was ruined?
That is a fair point. Come on.
No, it is not a fair point that the safety.
Wait, who's fair? You're saying Confluence is being fair?
No, yeah, Confluence is absolutely being.
No,
he's accurate. Of course, he's accurate.
No, it says direct.
Just because someone doesn't literally.
It doesn't
just
mean
because someone doesn't literally end up dead as a result.
What happened?
Now we're unsafe.
Just because someone doesn't literally die as a result of incitement.
On a late night joke show. If you believe that, we can't have a conversation. You're just nuts.
Yeah, like for example, if Jimmy Kimmel had said this should have happened sooner and someone needs to go after his wife and children, I would agree. This is definitely going after their safety. But he's saying MAGA tried to push this on everyone but them. How is that at all making them unsafe?
Public harm must be immediately and cause direct and actual damage to property or the health and safety of the general public. I think it is fair to say that it is bad for the general public. It is bad for the health and safety of the general public if people are forced to cancel public speak.
No, the harm has to be direct, actual, and immediate.
Feel reasonable.
Direct, actual, and immediate. No one got hurt.
Yes.
Wait, so if he said
a tornado, someone has to get hurt. It talks about
yes, because it has to be immediately.
What do you think the word safety means, Wick? Holy shit!
In the context of this rule, it obviously means that they're made like to be under physical threat. Right? Physical.
Yes, that's why they canceled their speeches.
Yeah, that's why a bunch of people have canceled their stuff.
Who canceled their speech because of what Kimmel said? Who the fuck canceled their
appearance
because
of
what Jimmy Kimmel said?
Wait, I could be wrong. I think didn't Tim Pool cancel his whole thing?
And yeah, there
Doesn't
was
work.
Hold on,
Kimmel?
wait, wasn't that after what happened to Charlie? People was
when
being
you. I'm sorry.
wait.
There's
I mean,
a
People
it's
that
all
there's a
canceled
part
stuff
of the
was
bunch
same
after
of
thing,
Charlie
though.
because of concern of their safety. There's no fingers.
You can't. Yeah, you can't point to specifically at Kimmel, but it's like it's a whole.
That's
But
what
the
they're going
confluence of
after.
events.
What
This
do
is
you-
about.
It has to be
This
specifically
is about Kimmel.
You have to
Right.
be able to draw a direct causal
If
line
Kimmel
between
is
Kimmel
part-
and
I don't
what
see
he
that.
said.
I
Kimmel
don't
is
see that
part
in
of
the
a
law.
broad
I don't see that in the
confluence
FCC
of
rules.
ratcheting tensions.
No
Oh
way.
my god. What do you think direct means?
No way. There's no way.
Yeah.
To
It's
be clear,
direct.
guys, I forgot about this. Someone reminded me, and thank you. This was Logic. Andrew reminded me. The reason this rule exists is because of the War of the Worlds broadcast, where they're
Yes.
like, "Hey, we're fucking under attack. Everyone panic and go to your houses, and this is so horrible." Not, "Hey, I said a thing that someone could interpret as."
Who died? Who died from
People,
the War of the
people
Worlds
like were
thing?
getting in car crashes and like snatching their
Yeah, there
fucking
was
kids
direct
out of fucking
property
places,
damage.
dude. Like
There
this
was
was like
direct-
people were getting
got
directly
hurt.
harmed.
Well, I guess I want to see evidence that people were like killed
Okay,
because that's
yes,
Wick's
people
I didn't
got
say
hurt during the
killed.
water hoax. That's why it became a
So
problem.
here, I'll dumb it down. It's shouting fire in a crowded theater. It's the
Okay,
same thing, just over the airwaves.
Oh my god, you're triggering me.
It's
You
the same
can
kind.
shout
I
fire
love
and
triggering
Yeah, you're
you.
triggering me there too. That's also ridiculous.
You can
It's the-
absolutely shout
you
fire
can.
and crowd at the. That's not illegal.
You can, but if there is no threat and it's a call to action, that's why they use that one, man. It's considered a call to action. That's why that phrase exists.
Okay, but Jason, that's completely different because obviously, like your ability
Causing
to say
a
things in
panic,
general
causing a
is
panic
different.
over the airwaves
You have a right
is the
to
exact
say
same
more
thing as causing a
things.
panic in an enclosed area.
Okay,
Okay,
you
I
have
got
a
more
right to
super
say
chats.
more
I got
things
more
in
super
public
chats,
than
okay.
you do in just like
20
on television.
$20 from Lawson Harrison to say, Wick, have some well-lit money. You are now a publicly funded entity. Well, thank you for the $20. Tier 2 membership from HLock12. Like the stream, people. Yes, like the stream.
Nice.
Do we not give you the best content? $20 from the devil. Ooh. If MAGA goofballs are going to lean on the implication when it comes to Kimmel's speech, then Trump's speech on January 6th is fair game.
It is fair game. I'd be
Yes,
happy
it
to
is.
talk about that. It's fair game. I'm consistent.
Well, yeah, but it has nothing to do with the FCC revoking a license for Trump to be able to talk. It has to do
No,
with
it
whether or
doesn't.
not he
It's a
incited
different
people.
issue. I'm just saying I'd be happy to talk about that too.
Okay,
I'm
$5
not
from
like
Gladness
ultimately
Group.
pro-Trump.
Conservatives losing at 4th and 1 again. Quit being losers. Support your local extremists. Support Wick 2. Put the Google execs in prison. $5 from Alexander Wren to say.
Well,
could this
but
have
to be clear, he
something to
just
do-
paid Google to say that.
Yeah.
Based, I think.
could this have some from Alexander Wren? $5. Could this have something to do with the right wanting to privatize while the left wanting to fund things? The right doesn't compete; they destroy. $10 from Lawson.
Yeah, I
Harrison.
don't think funding propaganda is the same as funding healthcare. What are we talking about?
Okay.
Those aren't the same.
$10 from Lawson Harrison to say, I realized how many times a bartender has told the bouncer to kill me. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that means.
Okay.
$5 from Alexander Wren to say 8646 equal threat to the president. Hang Mike Pence equal peace be with you. Bigger. 1776 signs equals brotherly love for country. Got it. $2 from potentially criminal to say you have to be advocating for imminent disorder. And then see also Hess versus Indiana in 1973. Deej Nuts for $5 to say Trump is the greatest free speech activist. He knows the left will react reflexively to protect free speech if he threatens it. 100 million D chess. $10 from Alexander Wren to say, would it be indie if Comey had said this? 8646, fight like hell. He's going to take away your country. March up to the White House and protest like you've never protested before, peacefully.
Man, you
And
got
then
some
finally-
retards in your chat, Wick.
$5. No one who pays me is retarded.
To be
Everyone's
clear,
beautiful,
if
beautiful
Trump had
woman.
just done that, I don't think
woman.
anyone on the left would have a problem with that. It's the fact that he lied about the election and said, actually, if you don't do this, you won't have a country anymore. It's the only option for you. And in the same way that he's doing right now, saying, hey, I think they should just take their revenge for the Charlie thing at the ballot box. But the ballot boxes are rigged, by the way. So, where else are you going to take your revenge? I don't know.
I actually agree with Soy Pill on that. I just
Yeah,
for
for
the
sure.
record. I actually agree with that.
$5 from Alexander Wren to say we used to have blasphemy laws because the 14th Amendment applied the first to states and rendered them unconstitutional. So we do have free speech. Thank you for the $5. Okay. Gang. This has been a show. It's been a show. That's about what I can say about it. Okay, what do we got coming up? So tomorrow, at 6 p.m. Eastern, I will be talking with Eucharist. I'll be talking with Not So Erudite, and I'll be talking with Polymath.
All right, guys. I'm going to chat with you for a little bit.
We
and skedaddle.
can heal this divided nation. Okay, how can the right and the left stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other?
Whores are the
fellow
answer.
Americans. Okay, and we'll find out
I
tomorrow.
hope you
what
bring
they
up the
do.
fact that Jason and I are friends on Discord now. So
Oh,
bridge built.
Also,
Hey,
logic
healing
and
divide.
logic. Let's go.
Reaching across the aisle. Wow.
Hells
Amazing.
yeah.
Okay, $10 from Alexander Rin to say my point is that peacefully is a magic word that eliminates all implied violence. Just want to see if you can be consistent. Thank you for the $10. Okay, I'm done. Anyone else got anything?
Thanks, Wick.
Yeah, I'm
Bye.
curious how Logix and Soy think and they still haven't answered this. How you would want to get rid of the massive
I
subsidy?
literally answered the first of all, I don't want to get rid of
it's not a
them.
problem
And
with
second of
me.
all, I said if you really had a problem with it, you could try to, through legislation, reinstitute the fairness doctrine and say, okay, you need to provide equal airtime. There's 1,000 ways you could
Okay,
do this
so
if you were good faith. Like, I
it-
think you are
Yeah.
interpreting this in the most egregious, delusional way.
We talked about
Okay, so
Kimmel
to be
way
clear,
too
I don't
much,
care.
okay?
To
We
be crystal
wasted
clear,
time
to be
talking
crystal
about
clear,
fucking
I am
Kimmel.
not
There's so
with
many other
Jason.
topics to talk
I'm not
about.
with Jason.
Fucking
I'm not at
hell.
all with Jason. Any of this, like Jason.
Yes, you're
seems
making
to
the
think that
MAGA guy
right
seem
isn't-
reasonable. I think it's fucking insane.
Okay,
Okay, I'll
I
tell
think
you this.
the-
I'll just say this.
I am not
and then I'm
saying the
gonna end.
MAGA guys are reasonable.
I'm saying this, and I'm
No,
gonna
no,
cut the
you're
stream.
making
I'm saying
him
this,
seem
and I'm gonna
reasonable
cut the
because
stream.
he's more agreeable for the past 2 hours
I'm
than you
saying
are.
this, and I'm going to cut the stream. That if you are part
Okay, you're just
of
saying
a group
rhetorically fine.
that is calling people's employers about stuff they said off the clock, you're a bad person. I love you all. Bye.
Bye.